Good afternoon or evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight on the second episode of my podcast, The Blakeley Show. And tonight we have a very, very special guest that I'm very excited to have joined the podcast tonight. I will be bringing him in 2 seconds. But first, I just want to make sure that everybody like and subscribe and share the podcast. Get the word out. And if you want to send me guest recommendations, please put it in the Discord, fam. So let's get right to it. It is my absolute pleasure and excitement to get to introduce to all of you Lieutenant Colonel, retired, running for Congress in North Carolina's 13th District, Lieutenant Colonel retired Anthony Aguilar.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes,
Hi.
I can hear you.
Yeah,
I
can hear you and you can hear me, so I think we're good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining. I'm very, very excited to have you. I've wanted to talk to you for a while, even before I decided to start this podcast. So really quickly, because I do want you to kind of go through quickly, like a little bit of your background and that you're running for Congress. There's other things I definitely want to talk to you about, but I'm assuming that at least some people that are going to be watching this have some idea of who you are at this point. But so for me, I have pretty much, as far as my own, and when I think about it, have watched almost every interview that I've seen you do. So like as soon as you came onto the scene and started interviewing, before you even had a social media presence, I was watching all the interviews that you were doing with Breaking Points, with Tucker Carlson, all the ones that you were doing in Congress with the Congress members that you were talking to. And I was really glad to see once you started social media, because the story is really moving. It's really moving. And it was incredibly enlightening. And I do credit you coming forward and being the whistleblower for that humanitarian foundation for the fact that it got shut down. And thankfully, it did get shut down eventually. So let's start there for people who aren't as familiar with you, who you are, what you're doing, and about also your congressional campaign.
Yeah, so I served for 25 years in the Army. I retired shortly after I retired. Within a few weeks of my retirement, I was hired by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation to go into Gaza to deliver aid. And that is where my new life, or my new perspective, or my awakening, I would say, began. Having served in the Army for 25 years and serving on the ground in every war that this country has started and fought in over the last quarter century, I really had a different perception of the U.S. military, of U.S. foreign policy, of U.S. leadership, of our place in this world. And seeing for firsthand in Gaza the genocide, the forced displacement of human beings, and the targeting of children and families, and then peeling that back and discovering that the United States government had a hand in it knowingly, really started making me question a lot of things. And when I got back from Gaza, I started to go to Congress and I started to speak out against what I saw as a former service member who has seen a lot of war and saw it from the perspective of someone from my experience. What really bothered me is that when I spoke to members of our Congress and shared with them what I experienced firsthand in Gaza, happening to Palestinians, happening to human beings at the hands of American tax dollars and direct American involvement, not one congressman, regardless if they're Democrat, Republican, far left, far right, any one of them, not one of them was shocked or surprised. Every single one of them, the response was everywhere from, "Oh, we know, and we're trying to do more to do something about it." And then there was the extreme to the other side, Randy Fine, Tom Cotton, Lindsey Graham, those usual suspects, where their response to it was, "Yeah, we know it's happening, and good on Israel. We'll give Israel more, Israel first." And then the majority in the middle of, well, it's complicated. And I started to ask myself, well, how is this complicated? How is this situation and what's going on complicated, because I'm looking at what I saw on the ground, looking at the definition of a genocide, what is happening, our laws, US laws. This isn't complicated. And what I started to see was that it's not complicated, but they are compromised. And whether that's being compromised through blackmail, through financial compromise, or for many of them, simply compromised by ideology, because they firmly believe in this greater Israel and the bringing about the end of the world for some great biblical prophecy. They believe that, like Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, they believe this. And I decided that, I should do something about it. I can't just sit back and watch and see this happen. I should do something about it. So then that's what gave rise to my desire to want to serve in the Congress, to run for Congress. I have no desire to be a lifelong politician. I want to run. I want to break the paradigm of the two-party system. I want to pave the way, if you will, kick down the door for some great young Americans who are patriots, who want America first, who don't want to continue to fight endless wars, who want to fund Americans with universal health care and universal child care and do things for Americans. There are young Americans that want to step up and carry that torch. So I want to kick in the door and break the ceiling to allow them to follow. So that's why I'm running for Congress.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about how you feel about the Green Party, your experience working with them, because my thing is, and I was actually excited to see that both you and Brian McGinnis, who's running for Senate, also in North Carolina, you guys are both running on the Green Party line. And one of the reasons why I felt down about the Green Party a lot is just because we haven't seen them have success a lot. Now, a lot of people bring up the presidential elections, but that's only one, and it is harder because of our electoral system. There's nothing to say that a person couldn't win on the Green Party line in a state race. So I'm really excited about that, because if you guys could win running outside of the two-party system, that could change everything for everybody. And it also would give a lot of people who are very skeptical about third parties hope and be like, wait a second, maybe this can actually happen. Maybe we aren't just doomed to the Democrats and the Republicans who always force us into these terrible lesser of two evil binaries. So when it comes to the Green Party, how do you feel about your experience organizing with them on the ground? Like, do you really feel like you're getting the support that you need from them in a race like this, knowing that you guys are going to be at a monetary disadvantage? I'm sorry.
Well, we definitely are at a monetary disadvantage, but in terms of the support and from the party, it's been incredible. And I've never run for politics in any capacity, whether it's local, county, homeowners association, school PT board, nothing. I've never run for any type of political or democratically elected office. But what I will say at this time right now in this country is that the United States continues to be and is the only country in the world that does not have multipolar politics polarity in terms of its parties. This two-party system where it's gridlocked between Republicans and Democrats, we're the only government, and we're the only third world country, if you will, or modern government in the world that is restricted to that. Not because it's in our system, not because it's in our Constitution, but because power restricts it to that. In fact, our founders would say that limiting ourselves to only two parties would be an abomination. They'd be rolling over in their graves. So the time right now is the opportunity is the best it's ever been, and the need is the most it's ever been in our country to see this change with third party candidates, whether it's Green Party, Libertarian, Independents. And so what I'll say about what I have learned from this is that the local elections, midterm elections, like right now, coming up in 2026, these are the election cycles that set the conditions for the 2028 presidential and Senate elections. So as everyone knows, your president's every 4 years, your Senate is every 4 years, your House of Representatives is every 2. So every 2 years, you're having a midterm that's changing the dynamics of the House, of the Congress, of the Senate, which in and of itself shapes the electoral Congress, which then goes into the next election cycle for where you're electing congressmen or representatives again, and senators, and a president. So it's never a done deal to where the Republicans and the Democrats are the only parties that are viable. That is not true. You have to set those conditions in the midterms, which right now in this country, across the United States, we have over 30 Green Party candidates running in various positions in state and federal. But then we also have candidates like Butch Ware out in California that's running for governor. So won't necessarily have a position in the federal government, but the governor of a state that has the one of the largest GDPs in the world as a state, that's a pretty powerful position. Yeah. And here's what I want to say to everybody about third party. All we need, if you look at the entire Congress, let's just take the House of Representatives. If you take the entire House of Representatives and third party, let's say Green, can take just 5 seats, just 5. We break the binary monopoly, the duopoly of who has the majority vote or who has power in the House.
Yes, and you guys could actually block.
And breaks that block and then gives it to where the most powerful will actually be that caucus of Green Party independents. Because now our vote, look at the last 3 times or 2 times, the last 3 times a vote has gone to the House for a break, twice for the War Powers Resolution, once for the budget. Just in the last few months, J.D. Vance has had to break that tie as the vice president. Yeah. So if you consider in the House, if we had a Green Party caucus or an independent party caucus, we would break the power in the House to where there would be no majority and given the Republicans and the Democrats. And do you imagine the amount of power instead of having the balance of our democracy in this two-party scale of corruption, a triple beam balance where you have grassroots candidates who control, or I should say, who influence greatly the outcome of a vote. And that's huge. So what I want to say to all Americans coming into this midterm is that now is the time. And it's not a throwaway vote, especially here in North Carolina. I don't know how it is for every state. It's a little bit different per state. But here in North Carolina, the Green Party of North Carolina and the National Green Party are recognized on the ballot political parties. So we just had our primary elections here. I didn't have to run because I'm already on the ballot. So the Republicans had to run for who's going to be the Republican nominee. The Democrats had to run for who's the Democrat nominee. I didn't have to run because I'm already on the ballot as the Green Party nominee. So now going into the general election, when voters go to the voting booth for early voting in February in October, and then the general election on November 3rd, when they go into the ballot box, my name is there. Green Party candidate Anthony Aguilar on the ballot, not a write-in, not a petition, not a percentage vote. I'm on the ballot. So it's not a waste. And this is the midterm to change the future of politics in our country. I firmly believe that right now, if we don't change it and we stay on this two-party biopoly going into the next presidential election, that this president will do everything he can to seize power, and we will never see another Democratic election again.
Yeah, I mean, and you see it happening, even if it's not just one single election. You see the trajectory of democracy and our freedoms in general going like this. And it's been like that. It's like, I think that actually is something people miss a lot. They think all of this happens at once. It doesn't all happen at once. It's a series of choices and elections and compromises. And that's the reason why I'm really excited about this. And I really hope that people take seriously the midterms and voting for Green Party candidates or third party candidates in your state, because, as you said, this is the time to do it. This is the time to do it. When you are voting in your state elections in a midterm. Also, I think it would be really great, because the problem is that third party candidates can't win is a self-fulfilling prophecy. People think third-party candidates can't win. Independent candidates can't win. So then they don't vote for them. So then they don't win. So then it's like, and again, it does matter depending on the states. There are some states that are brutal about suppressing third-party candidates, and they will sue the people and all that kind of thing. But North Carolina, which is kind of a swing state if you consider how gerrymandered it is and the insane voter suppression in that state, there are a lot of swing voters. There are a lot of independent voters. So I think what would be really exciting and amazing about you and Brian McGinnis winning those races is that, again, it would give people that really want to have a third party. I'll use myself as an example, but that honestly do often think, what's the point? It would give us that hope to be like, no, actually, this isn't a self-fulfilling prophecy. There's actually proof that now that this can happen. It doesn't have to be this way, because so much of our imaginations are limited by what we can see and what is there and our corruption. And most Americans, and I say this often because I'm including myself in it as being a very uneducated person. We don't know what the hell is happening outside of the country. We're not educated about countries around the world and how their elections work. Like, most of us have never even left the country. Like, America's all we've known, haven't seen anything else. That's why they had to get rid of TikTok, because we're on our phones watching what's happening in China. And we're like, what the hell? They all have houses and electric cars. It's actually insane. So that's another reason why I would encourage everybody. I saw some people in chat asking how they can help you and donate to you. I put the link for his congressional campaign in the description of this video, of this live. So please go to his website. That's where you can sign up to volunteer, to donate. And if you have a skill, like, you can help. Like, it's not always money. If you're really good with social media, if you're a door knocker, if you're like, everybody has their skills. Even if you don't think you do, you do. So there's always ways to help. Don't think that you can't help just because maybe you don't have money, or just maybe because you're not like a professional organizer. Because that's the other thing that I feel like the Democrats and the Republicans have successfully done. They have successfully elitified, I know that's not a word, politics, to make it so that regular everyday schmoes feel like they are not a part of it, that they're not supposed to be a part of it. It's for professional organizers. It's for professional people. It's for politicos. It's like, no, boo, it's for you. It's for you too. It's for every single person. And which brings me then actually to the next thing I want to talk to you about. One of the things that has really struck me about watching you and following you since I found out who you are is that I got the sense, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that you were like me in the sense of you went into what happened in Gaza to Israel, not really an anti-Zionist or anything, like not really pro-Palestine, kind of just defaults pro-Israel because of growing up as an American. That was my default. That was kind of the sense I got when I first started watching you. And then watching your growth and your experience and you talking and the experiences you had in Gaza felt like I was watching you see in real time what Zionism actually is, what Israel actually is, and change. At least that's how it looked to me. And that was my experience because I grew up as an evangelical Christian. So I was raised with the kind of lunacy that the Johnny psycho who was running the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation with that type of ideology. And then the more I learned about Israel, I kind of went from, well, I guess I am pro them, to then the more I saw, and now I'm like, no, fuck them.
You're precisely correct in terms of how I have seen things. If on May 15th, the day that I flew into Israel and we landed at Ben Gurion Airport, had someone checked me through customs and put me in a line that said, "Hey, you're pro-Israel, the best army in the world. We're our allies. Get in line here," or this line over here to where you're questioning what Israel's doing. Maybe things don't seem right. Or this line over here to where you're anti everything Israel and Zionism and everything stands for, and you're here to make you're here as a protest. I would have gotten in line to where Israel's great. They're our greatest ally. They're fighting a very complex war and they're doing a great job of it. they're only defending themselves. We're here to provide food to Palestinians. But yeah, there's a lot of Hamas and there's a lot of bad there. And yeah, I fell into that default function of the average American view of Israel, our partnership with Israel, our involvement with Israel. And I'll tell you why I think that when I'm speaking out about this, that why it should matter even more is that I didn't go to Israel as an activist, nor did I go seeking some kind of biased approach to this is what I think, this is what I'm going to prove, and I'm going to show everybody exactly what I think by being here, and I'm here to prove a point. And the contrary of which my entire paradigm was broken, my view shifted, and that brought in a lot of questioning of myself, like things that I had to deeply question about my own views, about my own thoughts, about who I was as someone that served in the empire of America for 25 years without questioning it. Someone that did it, and then now seeing it from the outside perspective of the other, not in the military, not part of the government, but being there on the ground with Palestinians as part of the other side of things. And when it broke that paradigm and had me start to question, it's one of those things to where when you start to see the truth, you can't just walk away and leave it at that. You're like, okay, I see the tip of the iceberg. There's nothing else. There's nothing else to see. No, you're like, there's a whole lot more. And when you start looking into it, you're like, what is this? This is absurd. And then when I went to Congress and I went to Congress thinking that, here I am, a veteran, served for 25 years, a patriot. I'm gonna talk to Congress about these atrocities, and they're gonna believe me. And it was the opposite. They're like, oh, well, thank you for your service. You're amazing. Oh, wait, you're speaking out against Israel. Oh, you're a traitor, and you're a liar, and you're a piece of garbage. And I'm like, what? And then I walk through the halls of Congress, and I just see all of the halls of Congress adorned with Israeli flags, Israel first on people's walls, as Americans in our country don't have a roof over their head or don't have a living wage, can't afford to put food on the table, not because we can't provide it in this country, but because we prefer to provide it to endless wars and directly to the state of Israel. Israel has universal health care. Israel has universal education and childcare, but we don't because we choose to give it to them.
It's true. It's one of those things that one of the things, and I'm going to show it to you because I've been itching when I knew I was going to interview you to show you that part of the Mike Huckabee Tucker Carlson interview where he brings you up. But one of the things that actually really struck me about that interview too, that Tucker Carlson did with him, was when he brought up the abortion thing. Because again, I was raised as a Christian where I was told my whole life, abortion, red line. You can never vote Democrat because Democrats are baby killers. Abortion is the worst thing like ever. And then even like being involved in politics, it is constantly, we'll let you die if you're bleeding out because we're so pro-life in the red states. So the way that we talk about abortion here, and then the difference, the contrast in the way Mike Huckabee talked about abortion to Tucker was incredible to me. It was all, well, sure, I don't really love that they use American taxpayer dollars for abortions here, but we don't always have to agree with everything. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. You think that that's what he would say about a woman having an abortion in Arkansas? No, they let women literally die because they're so pro-life. But then when it comes to Israel's abortion care that we pay for, he's like, listen, you're not going to agree with everybody. Like, just incredible. My jaw was on the floor when I heard that. I was just like, and again, it's one of those things where the more you learn, as you were saying, the more you learn the truth. To me, it felt like my head was exploding, actually, because it was a combination of things. Like, I think that people who don't understand how propagandized we are in America, they think it's one thing. It's like, no, it's everything. It's that we're raised to believe, as you said, they're our greatest ally. They're just like, but also growing up as an American, and I don't know how it was for you, but there was a lot of Holocaust indoctrination. And by that, I mean, when I was growing up, I learned about the Holocaust. I watched movies about the Holocaust. I read books about the Holocaust. In school, we had Holocaust Remembrance Week. And what gets repeated over and over and over again is Israel is their protectorate. That's why we also have to care about Israel, because if they don't have Israel, what do you want, another Holocaust? Like, and so all of those things are really instilled in us. I thought about how much this was blowing my mind when I was like, it is interesting that as Americans, we barely spend any time in school on slavery or on Native American genocide that we committed against indigenous people here, but we spend a lot of time learning about the Holocaust. And that's not to say that the Holocaust isn't important and that we shouldn't teach it. But I think it's weird that that is forefront and center in a lot of American schools and educational resources, but the Native American genocide is not. Slavery is not. I didn't even know what Black Wall Street was until 2019. I didn't even know I didn't know what Juneteenth was. I never learned about that. So I just think it's weird that it's like, and that's also the reason, because like I was indoctrinated to also believe that Israel was the safe haven for Jewish people, and that if they did not have that, they would be annihilated, and that if I didn't believe that they should have it, well, then what are you, an anti-Semite? What do you want, Jews to die? Like, that was literally like the way that it's presented. So like, and of course, all the Arabs that live there are mean and scary and brown, and they're going to kill all the Jews and this and that. And again, that last piece of indoctrination also came from, because again, it's not one thing I'm trying to explain to people who don't live here. It was the Holocaust indoctrination I had as a kid in school. It was the indoctrination I had from the evangelical Christian church about the end times. And then it was also, I'm a child of 9/11. I remember growing up and being told Arabs are terrorists. Muslims are terrorists. What do you want, another 9/11? They hate us because they hate us. They hate us because of our freedoms. Like that. So all of that helped shape my view. So when I heard Gaza terrorists, Hamas, and everything else, I was primed to just believe it. So as I started learning the truth about what was happening in Gaza, it was like every 5 seconds, I felt like my head was exploding. Like I just couldn't believe it. And then also like, I couldn't believe that there was no discourse in our politics, because I have been paying attention to politics for a few years now, and I would never hear any dissent. All politicians, as you were pointing out earlier, when you were meeting with them in Congress, all of them, whether they be Democrats or whether they be Republicans, for the most part, 99.9% of them are pro-Israel. So it's like, you don't really, like, the furthest left you can be on Israel is two-state solution.
Yeah.
Nothing else. So like, I also bring that up to say that I have seen propagandists try to lie about you and say, oh, he was just like a radical, like leftist, like whatever. First of all, I don't know who would buy that, because you were in the military. The military is not full of fucking leftists. Like, what are you even talking about? But then second of all, like I said, from watching all of your interactions with people, it was clear to me that you were not some ideologue. Like, just in the way that you talked about it, like you talked like me, like, and so it just made me laugh when I would see the liars and propagandists say that. And the guy who was the head of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, he is a scam artist who went to Liberty University, which is a scam Christian college, and then became a owner of a PR firm. Like, this guy is a joke. He's like a fucking criminal.
Yeah, you know, it's classic snake oil salesman, you know, Christian revival, type of philosophy. And I think that yes, when the criticism of me first came out to where, oh, he's a radical, he's Antifa, he's this and that, and then when people would actually talk to me or pay attention to some of the interviews that I've done in the past, they look and they're like, oh, well, that's not true. I am someone that a product of my adult life being a product of 9/11. I joined the Army before 9/11. So I already had it in my head that I wanted to join the military. I grew up in Republican South Texas to a mother that served in the Air Force, a father that served in the Navy, family that served in the military. I wanted to serve in the military. America can do no wrong. We're the ones that do right in this world. And after, especially then I join, and then shortly thereafter 9/11 happens, and I'm told the same thing that you and many of us were told, that that the Muslims hate us. They hate our freedom. They don't just hate us as people. They hate everything that we stand for. And if we don't fight them, because I had questions like when we, after the towers fell and it was Al-Qaeda, and I was like, okay, well, what is this Al-Qaeda? Let me look into, let me research this. And I'm like, oh, Al-Qaeda came out of this group of the Mujahideen in the 1980s that we funded to fight Russia in Afghanistan. And then Osama bin Laden created this organization called the Foundation or the Base, which is Al-Qaeda. And he's Saudi. So I guess we're going to war with Saudi Arabia. And it was like, nope, we're going to Afghanistan. I'm like, someone's going to have to explain that one to me. And well, there's this government in Afghanistan that's called the Taliban, and they prop up and they support Al-Qaeda. I'm like, I'm like, do they? And then sure enough, then a couple of years later, we're going into Iraq. I'm like, what does that have to? So as I'm questioning these things, the answers coming back to me from the institution of which I serve and the country and the government for which I believe can do no wrong is, well, check it out. Because, this is connected to this and this and this and this and this and this. And if we don't fight them over there, wherever it may be, we're going to be fighting them here on the streets of America. And
yeah, I remember that.
Do you want some radical jihadist blowing up your kid's school because we didn't fight them over there? And then, man, I ate it hook, line, and sinker. Like, you're right. Yes. Where do I sign up? Send me to do all of the most dangerous things so I can protect our great nation. And then year after year after year after year, you begin to question it more and more. And then you then start to become part of the lie. You become part of the propaganda to where, you then, when someone questions you, like at the 20-year mark in my life, committed my entire adult life to being in the military. And someone says, oh, well, maybe not even in that way. I'm not going to give it a negative tone. Let's just say a concerned, educated American asks me, what do you think of the wars in Iraq and in Afghanistan that we were fighting? What do you think that those were really to achieve any purpose? And, my initial visceral response is, well, if it wasn't for people like me serving over there and sacrificing, you wouldn't have the right to say that and then someone's like, really? Because I don't think that fighting anyone over in Iraq or Afghanistan or Syria or Lebanon or Yemen or Somalia has anything to do with confronting our civil rights and liberties. In fact, our civil rights and our liberties and our First Amendment are being attacked here by this administration, not by some jihadist radical. And then so, I started to read, maybe you know this or not, but this is a piece of information that I've sensed that really makes me think about this whole, it's us versus them. And I'll ask you, after the United States won its independence in our war of revolution, when we do it, it's revolution. When Palestinians do it, it's terrorism. So in our war of revolution, once we solidified and we became a government and we said, here we are in this fledgling government, what was the first nation in the world to recognize the United States officially and only and officially?
I actually don't know.
Interesting. Take a guess.
Iran? No, I'm kidding.
You wouldn't be far off.
Palestine.
No. Again, not far off.
Afghanistan.
Not far off.
Iraq.
Morocco. Under Sultan Mohammed III in 1777, Morocco was the first. Not because we asked them or begged them. The Sultan of Morocco, a Muslim, recognized the United States independence and sovereignty as a sovereign nation that won and earned its independence from tyranny, and was the first nation to not only recognize us in as much in earning our independence as a nation, but was also the first nation to extend to us the Treaty of Friendship, which opened their ports up to our goods, so we could actually begin import-export of some of our goods from the colonial states, such as cotton, sugar, sorghum, soybean, etc. So when people say this is this great battle against Christianity and Islam, and it's us versus them, and it's not true. It's not true. at all.
That's an incredible piece of history that I did not know about Morocco. That's really cool.
It'll blow your mind. Morocco was the very first country to recognize the United States as an independent nation, and they did so in 1777. And not only did they recognize us as a nation, they formalized it as the first treaty that the United States ever had for international trade, import, and export.
Wow, that's amazing.
With Sultan Mohammed III as the signatory, the Sultan of Morocco.
And it's interesting because they really haven't changed the propaganda that they use on us. They've just kind of outsourced. It used to be, because they know people are not buying it largely, that we as in people like you who actually sign up to serve in the military need to go fight them over there so that Sharia law doesn't come to the US, which is, I can't even handle how fucking stupid that is. Like, it's just, I just can't. But then now they say it about Israel. Oh, Israel, it's such, because sometimes I have asked, especially as I was kind of deconstructing this belief, I'm like, you guys always say that they're our greatest ally. They're great. Why? Why? And they're like, oh, well, because they're in a rough neighborhood, which is just like racist and Islamophobia. Yeah. They're in a rough neighborhood. And they'll be like, well, but why though? Oh, because if we don't fight them, they're fighting all of the scary Arab people so that we don't have to. And it's like, okay, but they're actually not. They just keep invading their land and attacking other people. Maybe if Israel kept their fucking hands to themselves and stopped attacking everybody around them, they wouldn't be fighting with their neighbors all the time. And also, then I learned more about, I remember when the JCPOA happened and how much opposition there was from it. It's even from the so-called left and the liberal Democrats. And I'm like, but no one ever asks, why can't we get along with Iran? What's wrong with us having a treaty with them? Why do we have to be their enemy? Because they're Israel's enemy. Okay, and then I'm like,
over the last 20 years, if we had committed our diplomacy, our economy, our world trade, our treaties and our development with China, Russia, and Iran, this world would be a much better place.
100%. 100%. And it's really funny to me that there is all of this, and I don't know if you've noticed this, but they seem to be, I'm sure you have, because you spent your life in the military. There seems to be a very insanely embarrassing and pathetic, desperate scramble to try to retcon what's happening in Iran, to try to convince people that this is something that we should be doing. And a lot of people, especially like young people, the same kind of people they want to go in and die, are not buying it. Like, they seem to be undecided on a story. It is not the same as what happened after 9/11, where 9/11 was such a traumatizing event for the US that no one questioned it. Everyone was just like, yeah, go get the bad guys. But like here, first of all, they don't even do good false flags anymore. The United States, they're not even putting their heart in it anymore. It's like the laziest ops.
Yeah.
It's like, now it's like they're not even trying. They're just like
the elementary flag football version of a false flag. they're just like, they'll buy it.
Totally. And so I feel like their heart isn't even in it anymore. So now when they're asking, why should Americans go over and fight and die for Israel's, expansionist war and their desire to have greater Israel and all these other countries, I feel like they can't even come up with an answer. Marco Rubio is saying one thing, that one alcoholic cosplayer guy who never served in the military but loves to pretend like he's some military leader.
Steve Miller.
No, not him. The one that looks like a rapist. Pete Hegseth.
Oh, Hegseth. Well, so here's the scary thing is that he did serve. That's what's scary.
Oh my gosh. Yes, you know what? You're right. I knew that.
National Guard.
That.
He's in the DC District National Guard. So he served what I would call in a cosplay role, but was even more concerning about his disposition is that he did serve, and he was cited by previous military commanders and colleagues as being too extremist.
Yeah.
And that's the person we made the Secretary of Defense.
It's unreal. But that was the other thing that stood out to me is that when it came to the people that were trying to lie about your story, when it came to the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, is that number one, you had receipts for everything you said. Like nothing you said, you were like, trust me, bro. Like it was like you actually had proof and receipts for like everything that you were saying. But then also another one that really hit me about it was I was like, you guys have been killing Palestinians on camera for the better part of a year and a half. But now you want us to think that it's somehow outrageous that a guy went there and said, who also had video, because we all saw the video that you released of the guy laughing about it, being like, oh no, he's making it up. What? like, what do you mean? What do you mean? We're all seeing it. We're all seeing it. We've all seen the videos. We've all seen them actually just like kill them indiscriminately. And that brings me to what I want to share with you this part now about Mike Huckabee. I want to point out too, for anybody that is, you know, if this has anybody else has noticed this, and I hope that people do, I am so tired of the Republican Party specifically, all of our politicians, but the Republican Party are the really the ones that love to use the troops as props. The troops. They love using the military as props. But then when it comes to actually dealing with the military, the way that they grabbed you and dragged you out of that hearing while you're in your uniform to arrest you, the way that they just broke that guy's arm and dragged him out, like the utter contempt and the disrespect that they have for people in our military when you guys actually come back. They don't give a fuck. And I said this at the time that they were arguing over the burn pit legislation. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck about you guys. All they care about using you guys is as props. They don't care when you die. They don't care when veterans commit suicide. They don't care when you guys don't have health care. They don't care when you come back and you protest. They want you to be props and that's it. And then cannon fodder for the military industrial complex. And so when I saw like the way that like it's the troops. But then Mike Huckabee, all disrespectful. And again, all these Israel first clowns, the contrast that was hitting me so hard was the difference in the way that he talked about you versus the way that he talked about an actual convicted traitor to the United States, Jonathan Pollard. Jonathan Pollard, an actual quite literal traitor who not only stole secrets from the United States and gave them to the Israeli regime, but then recently said, I'd do it again. Like he literally was like, I don't regret it. I would do it again. The way that he talks about him versus the way that he talks about you was so striking to me, because what happened, big patriot Mike Huckabee? What happened to the troops? I thought you guys loved the troops. Why do you talk about our soldiers like that? Like, it's incredible. So I have it set up because I want to show it to you, the part specifically where he talks about you and he lies about you. And my favorite part though about it is that the right wing loves to do the, we don't believe in cancel culture, but as soon as you start criticizing Israel, they love to become snowflakes and cancel people. They always would talk about for years how they hated the woke left for using terms like platform. But then he brings you up and he goes, you platformed him. Like, it's actually so amazing. Okay, so I'm going to share this and I want to make sure that you can hear it. So he starts talking about you at 1:49. Okay. Hold on. All right, so I'm going to share. You let me know if you can hear it once I start playing it.
To do the Israelis because they didn't.
Can you hear it? Wait.
I could.
Okay, I'm going to slow it down a little.
Go after their children. If they now all their children, Tucker, they've got the military capacity. They could have done it in less than a day.
I've heard you say that.
I know.
I mean, I guess
so
they could have done it. Okay, but
why didn't they? Why didn't they?
I think there are a lot of decent people in Israel who don't want that. But I'm talking.
Do you think that the prime minister wanted to wipe out every single person in Gaza? Do you
I'm
really
asking
think that?
you what you think is the U.S. representative of our government.
I don't think that that's what he wanted to do.
Did you ask him? Why are you referring?
I never had to ask him that.
Why?
Because I never saw any evidence that Israel tried to wipe out every single person. I just gave you examples that they tried to save civilian lives.
But I'm not,
and they
by the
didn't.
way, I'm not, as I've said, and I mean this, I think most soldiers in most armies, including the Israel Defense Force, don't want to kill civilians. I just don't believe that. I think there are some lunatics.
Can I ask you something?
Yes.
You platformed a guy. You had him on your show, Tony Aguilar.
Don't platform anyone.
Well, you interviewed.
Not a liberal,
Tony
so I don't
Aguilar.
platform people.
Okay, you interviewed Tony Aguilar, who claimed that IDF soldiers killed a little boy in his presence. That didn't happen.
Okay.
It did not happen.
I don't know. I don't know if you know whether it happened or not.
Well, I can tell you why I know it didn't happen. Because we found that little boy less than a week later.
All right.
I was involved, heavily involved, in helping to extricate him from Gaza. 4 different countries were involved in getting he and his mother to safety, get them out of there. Tony Aguilar is a liar.
Okay.
Tony Aguilar claimed that he saw an IDF soldier shoot the little boy. He was fired from the GHF for cause, and he begged for his job back, and they wouldn't give it back because they didn't want him. And he told them that if they didn't give his job back, that he would burn them down.
Okay.
So he goes out. No, let me finish this because it's important for you to understand.
Right.
So this guy then goes out and makes up this story that he witnessed IDF soldiers shooting a little boy.
I don't know that he made it up. He seemed to believe it to me. It's possible he's wrong. I've been wrong many times.
Well, this is a little bit more than just missing a fact. He claimed to be an eyewitness to the murder of a little boy.
See, so pausing right there for a second, just the matter of factness in which he talks about you versus Pollard. When it came to Pollard, he goes, well, you know, everybody makes mistakes and, you know, I just met with him and here's the thing. But when it comes to you, he gives you absolutely no benefit of the doubt at all. At all. He's a liar, like as if it's fact. He lied about this. Like it's incredible to me, the contrast in which he talks about you and talks about them. It's giving traitor. It's giving you should lose your United States citizenship, Mike Huckabee, because you're a traitor. And it's like, because why is he assuming that? And I love also that he acts like the allegation that they killed a boy is somehow radical when they have killed tens of thousands of children. How is it radical? Even if, let's say, which I saw the photos of who they said that little boy was. I didn't really think it looked like him. I don't know. I don't know any of us know, but I believe you. I believe your story. I think that if anything, if on the slim chance that the kid was alive, then I would believe that you had been mistaken. Not that you were lying, but I still believe your story. The fact that he is not charitable to you at all, he doesn't give you the benefit of the doubt at all. He automatically assumes that you are lying and that you are in bad faith, even though you're not some activist who had a history of lying about Israel and all this other shit. And then he claims that it was so outrageous that you would even suggest that the Israelis and the IOF would kill a child when it's like, I'm sorry, are you new? Are you new here? They've killed tens of thousands of children. They still are killing tens of thousands of children. They just killed a bunch of children in Lebanon. So you want me to believe that even if this little boy is still alive, that would mean that they didn't kill all the other ones? Like, what? Does this not sound insane?
Yeah, that's the power of the manipulation, because there are people that will watch this, and because it came from the mouth of a U.S. ambassador, well, then surely it must be true. And, you know, from my perspective, this is what I have come to accept and understand about this situation. In that, you know, throughout my entire career, 25 years, you know, when I was wounded in combat and Secretary Rumsfeld pinned my Purple Heart and my Valor Awards on me in Iraq, and years and years of being in the Army and accolades, and oh, you're a patriot and you're amazing and you're awesome and you're great, all the way up until my retirement. Oh, you're great, you're great, you're great. Even to the point of being hired by this company who called and contacted and recruited me to work for them because of my background and my experience. All the way up until that point, not one thing in my entire life had I done differently up until the point to where I said, Israel, the IDF, killed a young boy. Then, without question, without hesitation, without pause, without any type of black or white, all of a sudden now I am a traitor. I am a liar. I made it up. And I'm looking at him like, okay, there is video all the way up until the point of the shooting, the child engaging with me in person. Like, so if we take for this one particular incident with this one particular boy, which again, as you mentioned precisely, This is just one incident of one child. What about the hundreds of thousands of children in addition to? So their position on it is that, yeah, you know, there was hundreds of thousands of children killed, but not this one, one. Right. And it's like, okay, well, based on what? And then someone like him saying, because I say so. There is no one in America that should take the word. And again, when they first broke, so him bringing this up, here's why this is weird to me that he brought this up now on this Tucker Carlson interview here just recently, is that this allegation of Tony made this story up about Amir, that came out on the 4th of September, 6 months ago, when they started to say that it was wrong. And when they did their little press tour, they went on to the press, and each press tour they did, whether it was Fox News, their own propaganda news station, or if it was Breaking Points or other news stations, every news station asked them, okay, well, Aguilar has the receipts. You're telling us, trust us, bro. Do you have the evidence? Do you have, you said that you did biometric data analysis to confirm that this boy was the boy. Well, right. Biometric data analysis compared to what sample? You didn't have a sample of what the boy was. So what are you comparing it to? So would you please share this information with us? And they were like, nope, you're just gonna have to take our word for it. Okay, so the government, the United States government, it's puppets like a Huckabee or a Rubio, etc., a Witkoff, who have every reason to lie, who have every reason to manipulate, who face potentially, if they are accused and found guilty, war crimes, have every reason to lie, versus the other side of it, i.e. me, who has no reason whatsoever to put myself in danger and at risk to lie about this. Since I've come out speaking against genocide and the U.S. involvement in this genocide, I've received death threats. I've lost everything I've had that I've worked for in life, from the military, my reputation, my prestige. You know, I could have retired after 25 years, rode off into the sunset, become a permanent member at the VFW, you know, drink beer on Friday and tell war stories, and everybody think, you know, and I'd just be great. But I chose to speak out against a genocide in knowing, in that moment, having spent 25 years at war, what I saw happening in Gaza, what quickly came to my head was that this doesn't end here. This doesn't end in Gaza. This doesn't end here in Palestine. This will continue to the region, and eventually our government is going to bring this shit home to us, to our neighborhoods, to our streets. And this was before ICE was killing Americans.
And it's interesting because I noticed that they couldn't find anything on you. When they were trying to smear you, there wasn't they didn't have anything. I was like, okay, this guy's been in the military for a long time. And so this is what you guys have to just say that he's lying about it and that he got fired. You guys, and you don't even have proof of that. That's all you have. Like, this guy's got a record. If he really is supposedly all these horrible things that you guys are saying, where is the receipt? You're not showing it. It's a lot of BS. And then, we've got the biometric data and all this other nonsense. But they do what the Israelis always do. Okay, we're looking into it. And then they just never bring it up again. Like, you'll just never hear about it again. They'll never bring it up again. And like, also, the way that you spoke about your knowledge of international law, your knowledge of the military, your knowledge of weaponry, your knowledge of what it takes to go into a different country, and the kind of legal processes that you had to go through, like, it was clear. And I think that's why they were having such a hard time smearing you, that when you were talking about international law, your experiences, all the different countries that you've been to, all the different wars that you have served in, that you talking about what you experienced in Gaza and how fucking ghetto it was. Like, they weren't even putting signs up in Arabic, that they were having a really hard time, because what we're told all the time is that the And they do it so much to the point where they'll throw Americans under the bus. He does it in
Yes.
this one too. They always talk about how awesome the Israeli army is. They're so amazing. They're the most moral army in the country. America doesn't even do that, okay? Our soldiers can be like kind of, but not Israel's. And it's like, well, then why are they so fucking ghetto? Why are they so unprofessional then? How is this even a thing?
Yeah, well, even look at it with, even more recently, this ambassador and other members of the administration. You had Carrie Prejean-Bawler, Christian, white, Miss California. She won Miss California when Trump was still in charge of the Miss America pageant. Put on this religious council, the handpicked. But by goodness, as soon as she just simply asked a question, she didn't even make an accusation. She asked a question. She just asked a question. Like, is being opposed to Zionism and the expansion of the Israeli state to all of its neighbors under the guise of religion, is that anti-Semitism? Because it doesn't seem like it is. And then within hours, she gets pulled off of this. She becomes the thrown under the bus, as you just said. So yeah, and that's the point that I've been making. When I got arrested in Congress, as they had me in handcuffs and they're marching me out, the last thing I said was, if they'll arrest us, they will come after you. So to the average American sitting at home, paying your bills, who may not understand where Gaza is on a map, who doesn't know where the difference between Iran and Iraq, and don't worry, you wouldn't be the only one. Our president doesn't know the difference between Iran and Iraq. So if you're thinking that this won't impact you, it will. Because for those of us that even serve this country, who, I'm a 100% totally and permanently disabled veteran because of my service to this country. And yet, if I just say one thing, imagine inserting any other country. Like, you know what? I don't like that they take our tax dollars and they use it to control their people, and they do this and all that, this and that. Yeah, you're right. That's bad. Yeah, it's Mexico. Yeah, big bad Mexico. But insert the word Israel, and all of a sudden you're a pariah. And then you go back and you ask yourself, why is that? Because 98% of our Congress takes money directly from the state of Israel. This is not high-level quantum physics, America. It is very clear.
What's also crazy about it, though, is that you're a veteran who served to protect our freedoms, but then your freedoms are being violated at home for speaking out against the genocide as a veteran. So yes, people should understand that they are coming for our First Amendment, and that if they're going to arrest a veteran of 25 years who served the country to allegedly defend these freedoms, yes, they will continue to come after you. They already are coming after us. They already are taking our freedoms away. And that is the thing that actually really pisses me off more so, is that this is the only country that you're not allowed to criticize. And then also, it's making me feel like we're not sovereign. Why? Because I never consented to that. I don't give a fuck. I don't want anything to do with Israel. So I didn't consent to that. So why am I being forced to not only pay for their genocide, pay for them to kill Palestinian children, pay for their health care, pay for their welfare? Because let's not forget, a bunch of Israeli settlers go and live there off the government dime, which is our money, so that they can go and build illegal settlements and terrorize Palestinians living in the occupied West Bank and call it some Judea and Samaria, which is totally psychotic and genocidal, because every accusation is a confession. When they say, oh, Palestinians want genocide, when they say from the river to the sea, and then you go to Yair Netanyahu's Twitter bio and it says, from the river to the sea, Israel's all you'll see. So every accusation is a confession. But see, when I get pissed off and I want to yell at a Republican, at least I know that they're my fellow citizen. I want to slap a bitch upside down when I'm fighting with a Republican, but at least I know that they're a citizen. I never consented to give Israel my money. So it's making me feel like, what are you guys even fighting for? Because it doesn't feel like we are a sovereign state.
Yeah, well, I think that what has really grasped the consciousness of Americans over the last, let's just say 60 years, is looking at the, what I call the guilt of the Holocaust, right?
Yes.
So looking at World War II, were there Europeans? Were there Jews and Germans and French and Belgians that during World War II sounded the alarm to the world? Like, hey, this German leader, Nazi guy over here is doing some pretty bad stuff. He's not just taking over land. He's killing a lot of people. And it's not just Jews, it's gypsies, it's Jews, it's anyone that doesn't fit this narrative of an Aryan race. Like, he's doing some bad stuff. And all of us, the world, not our problem. And the United States didn't get involved in World War II until it directly affected our trading interests, until a German submarine took out a transport vessel, not because we wanted to rescue or free the Jews that were already enslaved and being killed, not because we wanted to free the Warsaw Ghetto of the occupation of the Jews in Poland. None of that. It was of our own interest. And then afterwards, when America and the world saw the truth, the guilt upon that, to where, man, why did we overlook this? Why didn't we do anything sooner? And now, because of the population that was targeted by that, or one of the targeted populations, because remember, it wasn't just the Jews. It was also European gypsies who we could give a crap less about.
Romani, queer people.
Exactly. Yes. All of the above that we could care less about. And then when you look at this sense of guilt, we now tie it to where, well, we should give them grace. They experienced this. We should give them grace. And to your point, when people say to me, well, they're our greatest ally, they're not. And I'll tell you why. Even in our own right. So because I've asked this question, why do we kowtow, capitulate, and kiss the ring of Israel for everything? They're not that good. I've seen their military operate. It's not that good. I've watched their military operate in Gaza. They are not moral. They're not even a performatively good army. Why? They have not stood with us in any war that we have ever fought, ever. Not one of these wars that we have fought in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Syria, is there an IDF uniform wearing soldier, ever. They don't serve with us. So I'm like, what is it? And people say, well, the intelligence they provide us. I'm like, okay. So in the international intelligence community, the world of intelligence, where the spies and all the secrets exist, there's something called Five Eye. Five Eyes, as in 5 sets of eyes. The United States, France, the United Kingdom, Australia, and New Zealand. Those are the 5. Those are the 5 countries that have the utmost trust and responsibility in sharing intelligence with each other at all times, back and forth. Guess who's not a part of that? Israel. Why? Because those other 5 countries of whom we have relied upon since the end of World War I into World War II for our intelligence and our secrets have all come to the conclusion that we cannot allow Israel into the Five Eye community because they spy on all of us more than our adversaries. So they're not a good ally. And if anybody would tell me that the intelligence they provided us has been exquisite, really, then why didn't they tell us about 9/11 before it happened? And then after it happened, why did Israeli intelligence lead us into Afghanistan and Iraq? Why did they not have the intelligence to see on October 6th that October 7th was going to happen to a land that they dominate and occupy? Why didn't they see that? So either
hasn't been explained at all. And even me as a layman who didn't know anything about Israel when it first happened, I still already thought it was so sus. I was like, what do you mean that they were able to attack them? So isn't that a surveillance state? Aren't there cameras everywhere? Isn't it
I've been to gate 96 where it was alleged that Hamas breached the gate. And I'm telling you, Delta Force couldn't have breached that gate.
Not only that, but then there's been no investigation. There doesn't really seem to be an interest in an investigation. And then also when they're like, oh, they share intelligence with us. It's like, okay, first of all, as you were saying, what intelligence? Because there's been a bunch of really bad things that have happened that our so-called greatest ally did not actually prepare us for or help us with. But second of all, it's kind of an open secret that they spy on us because members of Congress have admitted that they said that they went on these propaganda trips to Israel and that they were spied on. Like Matt Gaetz said that he was being spied on when he went there for one of these APAC greatest allied trips, and that they like go with you everywhere and you get a handler. Like, so what I always want to understand about this, and I still have yet to get an answer for it, is a lot of people are like, no, it's not Israel. It's actually the US. They're just like our they're like our little imperial outpost in the Middle East. And they give us like the intelligence and stuff. And then I'm like, okay, so then where then? I'm not, then why aren't we getting anything from it? If they're our proxy, if they're our bitch, where's the benefit? Somebody show me the benefit, because I'm not seeing it.
When people tell us where, well, if it wasn't for Israel, we wouldn't know what Iran has been up to. I'm like, well, I don't think Iran's been up to anything. Well, you know how many Americans they killed? And I'm like, I'm aware of how many Americans Iranian proxies have killed in Iraq and Syria, where we have occupied and conquered. They didn't come to the streets of Oklahoma. They didn't come to the streets of Florida and start putting out IEDs or attacking us. They are defending their interests asymmetrically because they don't want to go to a nation-state war, because Iran knows that a nation-state war, a nation-on-nation war of this magnitude, leads to exactly what's happening now. The closing of the Strait of Hormuz, nations being dragged into it. For Donald Trump to think that this war is over and won and just a couple days over from putting a bow on it, what an idiot. We are on the verge of a world war. Look at it already. The president of the United States over the last 2 days has begged the world to come to his aid to help with opening the Straits of Hormuz, and the world collectively has given him the middle finger.
And you know what else? They're talking about sending in, we might have to send troops on the ground to Iran, but they're not talking about sending Israeli troops to Iran. And the thing is, too, is that we could have had peace with Iran. The JCPOA was the beginning of building relations with Iran. And you know who was mad about that? Israel. Israel, who gave hundreds of millions of dollars to Trump when he ran the first time to rip up the JCPOA. And then Biden, when he came in, should have immediately gotten back into it, but he filled his cabinet with radical Zionists who were not interested in getting back into the JCPOA. And then Trump comes back into office, and what does Mary Madelson tell him? Well, we've got to finish, the job in Iran, and also I want you to finish annexing the occupied West Bank. And now, would you look at that?
If you look at the, surprisingly, well, I wouldn't say surprisingly, because I do, regardless of not agreeing with someone philosophically, politically, or where they stand as a nation or they're governing. Kim Jong-un is well read. He reads books. I'd say that's more than our president. He knows the difference between North and South Korea, which again is more than our president. But Kim Jong-un, one of the things he said after these strikes on the opening day of this war, he said, "Hey, world, that's exactly why we have to have a nuclear weapon, because of these assholes, not because of us."
Literally.
So, to Iran, I'd say yes, at the end of this conflict, when Iran holds the leverage and holds the keys, Iran is going to come forward and say, you want to end this, America? You want to end this? It's going to cost you. And here's what's going to cost you. 1, evacuate and leave all of your bases in the Middle East. All of them. All of them. And to be honest, we should have done that a long time ago. Number 2, do not restrict or attempt to discredit our right as a sovereign nation to have a missile defense capability. Do not interfere with it. And we shouldn't. Every other nation in the world has a defense policy strategy or some type of missile defense.
Right. And because of our media being our media is a joke. I fucking hate our media. It's such a joke.
It's not just a joke. It's complicit in the crime.
Oh, of course. And they're mad propagandists and mouthpieces for the security state and war and everything else.
Fox News, I just want to vomit.
Oh, totally. But the thing is that, and I talk about this a lot because I'm always railing about the media. It's all of them. Fox is obviously very over the top. It's very over the top. It's very, very over the top. But then you have the MS Now, which is the liberal media, the anti-war channel. And you had Rachel Maddow sitting on there doing a 5-minute segment as to why we are at war with Iran and doesn't mention Israel once. Once. It was insane. I was like, it's just great. But like, that's the thing too, is this kind of very racist and deranged position that the U.S. has that says that other countries don't have a right to defend themselves. Iran doesn't have a right. And Democrats say it too. Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Why not? We do. Israel does. What right? And I say this as somebody who does love this country. Bitch, nobody's going to take my patriotism away from me, motherfucker. I am a fucking patriot, okay? But I say this as somebody who loves this country, but also has respect for human life and other people's autonomy. What right does the U.S. have to tell Iran that they don't have a right to a nuclear weapon or to defend themselves? We don't. We don't. They can't have a nuclear weapon. Said who, bitch? Israel? Why don't we tell Israel they can't have a nuclear weapon then?
Well, I'll tell you what, if you go by the standards of the IAEA, the International Agency, basically the nuclear watchdog, there's only one country in this entire world that has nuclear weaponized capability that is not controlled, not monitored, not censored, and gives no access to any inspectors to their nuclear program, and that's Israel. The United States is even under more scrutiny, or even under the scrutiny of the IAEA and other organizations. Israel's the only country in the world that is not that refuses to acknowledge that. The same thing that we accused Iran of someday doing if they have a nuke. Well, if they had a nuke, they wouldn't do this, and this. Okay, well, the only country in the region that has nukes doesn't, and we do nothing about it. And there's only one country in this entire world, in this globe, even not even the country that declared war on the world twice, but one country that has used a nuclear weapon to kill millions, not once but twice, and that is the United States. So right now we have the United States, the largest nuclear power that has actually used them, with Israel, arguably a large nuclear power. We don't know because nobody knows how many they have, who is beholden to no restrictions or oversight of their nuclear weapons program, who have in their policy. Can you imagine if the United States had a policy, written in policy, that if we didn't get our way, we would just destroy Canada?
Yeah, the Samson option. Yeah.
They have it's part of their policy.
Yeah.
It is part of, so in the policy of a country that has unbridled nuclear capability with no restriction and no accountability, has in their policy within their government an option to nuke the earth if they don't get their way.
Yeah, it's actually insane. Like, it's really
insane.
It's so insane. And we all act like it's normal. And then it's like, okay, no, Iran was totally right to be skeptical of us. We just proved that we were going to do exactly what they were afraid of doing. And honestly, I don't blame them at all for being like,
do I want this war to end? Yes. Do I think, when I think about killing, and I think about death, and I think about American service members, and I think about Iranian girls in a school, and I think about parents and families in Tehran, or human beings that are trying to live their lives. I am not an advocate for war, and I do not ever advocate or want the continuation of war. But I'll tell you, if Iran capitulates and trusts the United States, I would be deeply disappointed from a position of humanity.
Yes.
Because we are the terrorists.
Yes.
We are the aggressors. We are the ones that time and time and time again have not only backed away from the negotiation table, but history will show.
A lie.
History will show that Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner maintained and dragged out negotiations with Iran in this latest round simply to set the conditions for a military strike.
Yes.
We negotiated in bad faith. We used the most sacred of diplomacy in our world, in our collective world ability to do things as human beings, negotiate. And we used it to set them up where there was every indication, even our own U.S. intelligence body, when Trump was like, yeah, they were going to strike us. The Pentagon and the CIA were like, that's not true. Like, That's not true. And I mean,
laziest regime change attempt war ever. Like they're not even doing the work to try to lie about it. And you're right. We are the world's terrorists and they have every right not to trust us. Why the hell should they trust us again? They're like, oh, we want to go back to the table and talk to them. Are you kidding me?
I have it under good account from a trusted source in the military who's in the Joint Staff that when this war kicked off and they were discussing things in the war room, in the Situation Room, that Trump didn't even for a period of time in the beginning of the kickoff of this war, Trump didn't know the difference between Iran and Iraq.
Incredible. Incredible. Like, but I want to know this from you since you're a veteran. Obviously, I've never served. Nobody in my family has ever served. We're just typical, whatever. How does it feel to know that you have served in the Army for as long as you have, that our country and our government is being run by a bunch of incompetent fucking idiots, most of whom have never served ever? How, like, I'd imagine that's very enraging or insulting to you and other people who have served.
Well, for me, it is infuriating. It is frustrating. It is infuriating. It is, I can't take enough showers to wash the filth off of how I feel. But when what's for me, what I take solace in, or at least what I have now put as my purpose in life, is to say, okay, I've seen it. I've seen it from the inside. I know the games. I know the lies. I've been inside the machine. So now that I am outside of the machine, not only physically and no longer in the military, but cognitively outside the machine, I have a role in Americans waking up and realizing that if we don't take action, that we will all be soon subsumed by the machine. And I mean that. I mean that sincerely and deeply, to the point to where this is what I think in my head. In running for politics, or running for Congress, or going to DC and protesting and making good trouble, as I call it, I will dedicate my life to that. I've had death threats. I've had credible threats. And everything that comes my way, I say, okay, because it's worth it considering what there is to come. And I mean that deeply. What is to come, it's worth it. And I've come to the conclusion that I'm going to put everything I can into it, because the only option I see if we don't fight for change is I hope you got a bunker somewhere in the hills. Because I mean, like, I'm glad I can survive off creek water and hunting, because I'm telling you, we are headed down a path that will make the Great Depression look like a weekend in Cancun.
No, you're right. And it's scary because I know I couldn't. Like, literally, when I've watched videos of what the Palestinians have gone through and the people in Gaza have gone through, I think I would die in like a day. I could not, what they have been through, what people who have skills have been through. Are you kidding me? I would die if I didn't have ibuprofen. There's no medicine, there's no food. I'm like, what? Americans, we have no idea. We are not. Americans are so privileged. This is the juxtaposition I say. We're suffering a lot in America. We are. And we're struggling a lot. We are also simultaneously in the belly of the beast in the empire. So we are also incredibly privileged. And we also don't know what it's like to have to live in the global south in those kind of conditions. And most of us wouldn't fucking be able to. We would not be able to. If this happens, I'll be calling you up being like, hey, can you help me figure out how to find beans without a can opener?
Yeah, I'm telling you, I have since come to the conclusion that I am all in on this, because our lives, our livelihood, and our way of life depend on it. Because here's what I know. Could Elon Musk, Donald Trump, Melania Trump, JD Vance, Pete Hegseth, could they survive that too? No, but they've already secured their future. You think anybody that thinks that all these billionaire trillionaires don't have something else figured out to save themselves, you're ignorant. They do. I would ask you to go and look at, don't take my word for it. And this was not something that I was conspiracizing. A couple weeks ago, I was in DC, and Pennsylvania Avenue in front of the White House is closed. The only way to get there is you have to go down the next street and then through Independence Park to get to in front of the White House to see it. You still can. You just can't walk down Pennsylvania Avenue. It's completely blocked off. And on the other side of that is where you see the East Wing where this ballroom is being built. And I'll tell you, unless this ballroom is going to be, have the world's largest basement, they're not building a fucking ballroom.
Yeah.
And when you look at the size and the degree of it, I've looked at it and I'm like, it doesn't look like a ballroom. That looks like this administration is preparing for something.
Yeah.
That the rest of us don't know about.
I don't poo-poo conspiracy theories anymore. I used to dunk on people all the time who thought of conspiracy theories. I was like, you guys are embarrassing.
Maybe they're putting in a swimming pool.
Right.
Maybe they're putting in a basketball court.
But
maybe they're building a bunker for the rich elite to hide out in during a war, so then they can. I don't know. It's the
exactly.
whole
First of all, it's actually not unreasonable because we know for a fact that rich people build bunkers all the time. Like Mark Zuckerberg built one in Hawaii. Like we know that they do. But, I am not just going to write off anything. After the whole Epstein file thing started to come out, I'm like, oh, wow. So a lot of people that said that there actually is a global cabal of elite pedophiles that are eating people and trafficking people. I made fun of them and said that they were crazy. And it turns out that actually a lot of it was true. And so I'm like, I'm open-minded is what I'm saying to anything that I hear. And if people,
and that's what I'm saying. I'm open-minded. I have not made the conclusion for what it is, but
right. But you know something, right?
If I were from another planet and just poof showed up on 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and was there, I'd look at that and I would the first thing I would think of was oh, that's the future blueprints and laydown of a ballroom. I'd be like, man, that looks like an underground bunker to me. But hey, like I said, maybe it's a bowling alley. I know, people like to bowl. Maybe it's a basketball court. Maybe it's a swimming pool. I don't know. But I'm telling you, just go and look. If you're in the Maryland, if you're in the MDV area or you go to Washington, D.C. again sometime, just go look and ask yourself, why did the price of this East Wing ballroom go from $130 million to $300 million to $400 million to a price tag that's now over $800 million? And the Trump administration keeps saying that America's going to love it. And when you go look at it, it doesn't say ballroom to me.
That's really it's very sus. And also the way they talk about and some of the things they're doing, they're not acting like a country that thinks that we're going to have more elections or that even quite frankly,
oh, no.
if it collapses, I don't if you listen to the billionaire class, all those cretins, all of those couldn't get laid in high school losers like Peter Thiel and JD Vance. JD Vance is fake as fuck. It drives me insane when people try to make him happen. He's so fake. He was created in a lab by the billionaire class. They talk like that psycho who runs Palantir. I'm forgetting his name, Alex Karp. Like they're not interested in the American experiment continuing. That's when you
they're
listen.
They're not even American.
Right.
Elon Musk,
they actually
they're from South Africa.
Right. But the way that they talk about it, they don't have any loyalty or interest in this country. They want to have techno feudalism, little fiefdoms, little countries that they control where they're in charge of us and we're all their little slaves. It's actually incredibly disturbing whenever you listen to them speak. And I feel like not enough people are talking about it. And this kind of goes back to your congressional run, which again, I'm very excited about. I have been so infuriated, not really surprised, but infuriated by the lack of anti-war sentiment on the so-called left in the Congress. First of all, I'm not that surprised by the right because even though a bunch of people fell for their shtick, oh, Trump is anti-war and all these people are, no, the fuck they're not. These are all cosplaying little dorks that aren't actually anti-war. They have no commitment to it. It was all a LARP and a grift. But on the left, on the so-called left side of the Democratic Party, people like the Progressive Caucus, people like AOC, and all of these kinds of people that are supposed to be on the left Where is the anti-war caucus? Where are they? None of them are even talking about what a disaster this is. That this war with Iran is a disaster. If you notice, all you hear them doing is talk about some process bullshit. Oh, well, they didn't get a vote on it. And they didn't dot every I and cross every T in Congress. But none of them are like, where is the actual like anti-war organizing within the Congress? It ain't there.
They're all here's what, and you're right on it. And I'm just going to say it plainly. The Democratic Party and the Republican Party are the same party. They just one does it a certain way, the other does it a certain way. They're the same party. And I'll ask you, Hakeem Jeffries, how much money do you think he takes from AIPAC?
It's millions. It's millions.
1.8 million just this past year.
Yeah.
His counterpart, you could say, Mike Johnson, Republican, diehard national Christian Zionist.
Yeah.
How much money do you think he takes from AIPAC?
It's millions too.
No.
It's millions too.
Mm-mm. Only about 800,000. The Democrats are worse than the Republicans when it comes to corruption, when it comes to being bought off, when it comes to being sold. What I will tell every American right now, your vote in Congress has been bought by a foreign government.
Yeah.
Our vote.
And I don't agree that they're worse than the Republicans in the sense of corruption, because the Republicans are also corrupt as fuck. What I would say they're worse on is that they pretend to care about the regular people. They pretend to be an opposition party. They pretend to want to represent the left. But so to me, they're worse. Like the Republicans are very corrupt, but they're
at
a lot
least the Republicans, you know not to leave your sheep there because they're wolves.
Exactly.
The Democrats, they are sheep. They are wolves in sheep's clothing.
Correct.
But they're not even good at it. It's like they have the sheep costume on, but there's like parts of it missing, and you can see wolves sticking out. And you're like, you're definitely not a sheep. Oh, yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. And you're like, and then you're like, are you?
No,
and then you look at it, like, oh no, you eat more sheep than the ones you're telling me are the wolves.
No, totally. The only two people I can think of in Congress right now that have actually spoken out against the war is on the Republican side, Thomas Massie.
Yes.
And on the Democratic side, Ro Khanna.
Yes.
But what really upset me about Ro Khanna, and I don't know why he did it. When I have him on the podcast, I'm going to ask him about it. Ro Khanna has been very good when it comes to being anti-war. He has been for years. He was one of the people that led the resolution with Thomas Massie back in like 2020 to stop the genocide in Yemen that was being funded by Saudi Arabia. But I heard recently that Ro Khanna said that he would support Hakeem Jeffries remaining speaker. I was like, are you out of your ever-loving mind, bro? What? In no universe should Hakeem Jeffries remain the leader of the House.
Because no matter how much Ro Khanna, his conscience is leading him to speak. And the thing is, with your conscience, once your conscience slips out, and someone says like, whoa, you just spoke out against something terrible. You can't backtrack then. You're like, yeah, that's pretty bad. Here's the thing. Ro Khanna takes money from AIPAC too. So it doesn't matter. Like the Ro Khanna's outspokenness to the genocide and wanting to stop the Republican Party and censure or impeach Donald Trump is part of the Democrat shtick to simply put Democrats back in power who are going to also take money from a foreign lobby. And AIPAC is not the only entity of which we have to be concerned. It's anyone. And I'll give you when I go to talk to members of Congress, and even lately, House Resolution 3565 is a House resolution that was passed that has been implemented, introduced, but not yet passed. And that is to stop providing Israel with offensive munitions.
Yes.
Not to shut them down completely, but specifically to stop providing munitions like the MK-18 2,000-pound thermobaric bomb. If we're in a ceasefire, why do they need that? If they're only defending themselves, why do they need that? But when you go and you talk to folks who have every reason to sign on to it, to say no, But then you look at it and you're like, why not? Like they take very little AIPAC money. They could easily walk away from it. They don't need it. They seem to be conscientiously on board with not killing children. Why? And then you look and it's like, oh, wow, Congressman so-and-so, Democrat or Republican, invests billions, invests billions of dollars, or excuse me, invests hundreds of thousands of their own money into stock in Raytheon. And people go and be like, oh, well, Raytheon doesn't make the bomb. Well, maybe not, but Raytheon makes the little guided GPS component that makes that bomb drop to where it goes. So yeah, they do. So I think that's the other value of having somebody like you in Congress is because you know about this kind of stuff when it comes to war that I feel like a lot of other people don't know about the details. Okay, so just to make sure I'm fact checking though, I just checked. Ro Khanna does not take AIPAC money. However, yes, he used to. You're right. However, I get what you're saying because Ro Khanna recently voted to keep funding Israel. And I was like, what are you, and then they're like, oh, well, it's defensive. Okay, let me say this again for the people in the back. There is no such thing as defensive weapons to an imperial state that is committing genocide against a helpless civilian population that has no way to defend themselves. And if anything, oh, but what about Iron Dome? Maybe if Israel didn't have Iron Dome, they wouldn't be so fucking belligerent. Because they know that they have us and Iron Dome funding them. It's like, well, maybe they wouldn't be so belligerent if they knew that they didn't have Iron Dome and they might get slapped. Israel is King Joffrey in the Game of Thrones because they know they have the mountain to back up their shit talking. And then when that mountain gets his ass kicked and is dead, then King Joffrey's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't talk shit anymore. So to your point, yes. And with Ro Khanna, the point that I was making on that is that it's not just AIPAC. That's why I think, like someone in my position, as an American, as a patriot, as someone that wants to run for Congress, not because I'm a politician or because government, I am a firm believer in the emoluments clause, in its principle, in that as a congressman or as a senator or in Congress as a rep or a senator or any member of government at all, whether I'm the county commissioner or I'm in charge of waste management for my county in a government position, no government official at all whatsoever in any capacity should receive any money whatsoever at all from any political action committee, from any special interest groups, from any lobbyists, from any industrial complex, whether it's the military industrial complex or the data center industrial complex or the AI. Or the whatever it is. None whatsoever. And furthermore to the fact, if you are in Congress and you are sitting in the Capitol with access, so part of your job is to have access to information that the average American does not, so that you can make decisions, informed decisions. I get that. But because of that, any member of Congress should not in any way at all have any investments whatsoever at all. I'm talking about you don't have a Roth IRA, you don't invest, you have nothing, zero, none. The only thing you receive for compensation is your paycheck. And the reason the Congress sets up retirement and pension for members of Congress after they only serve one term is so they don't feel the need to get rich outside of it, but they continue to do so because it's money and it's power that runs our government, not ethics.
And it's insane that we allow it. Yeah, somebody in chat just said Raytheon stock is up 195% since October 7th, 2023.
And our new DHS secretary, Mark Wayne Mullen, who is a senator, who's now the new DHS secretary, prior to this war starting, dumped millions of his own money into Raytheon stock.
Yes, and you know what? They did that during the pandemic too, right before COVID. That's where I get overwhelmed sometimes because you're right. It's not just AIPAC. It's the Israeli lobby altogether. It's not just that though. It's the military industrial complex in every capacity. It's big ag. It's big pharma. It's big AI. It's big crypto. Like it is so overwhelming how fucking corrupt this country is. And it's like, where do you even start? I mean, actually, a good start would be to ban them from being able to trade stock. It's insane to me that that's legal. It's insane to me.
It's insane to me, too, not only from a fiduciary perspective in terms of legality, but from the perspective of just plain old common sense, right? Like, if I'll give you a case in point.
Yeah, they try to gaslight us about it.
Of course, here in District 13, the Congressional District 13 of North Carolina, who the current representative is a Republican. He is he won the primary as the Republican, so he'll be going into the general election against me. Here's an individual that in our district of an average income of about $83,000 a year, average income, he makes $2.3 million a year. He doesn't even live in our district. I'm not joking. I'm not making this up. In America, go look at how many congressional representatives. If you're a senator, you have to live in the state. If you're a congressman, you have to live in that state, but you do not have to live in that district. Randy Fine from Florida, he represents the Florida 6th, doesn't live in the district.
He doesn't?
No. Look these things up, people.
No,
Randy Fine, who
hate him
represents
so
Florida's
much.
6th district, doesn't even live in his district.
I literally hate him so much. You don't even
Look it
know.
up. The incumbent for my district, Brad Knott, doesn't live in the district he represents. He lives in a $2 million mansion in the glitzy part of Raleigh, not even in our district, who is an advocate to bring data centers to our district that are going to rape the land, rape the resources, make our water prices go through the roof, make our electric bill go through the roof, destroy our environment. And he's all for it because he doesn't live here.
Right. Is there a Democrat running in the district that you are?
A gentleman named Behringer. I do not know much about him. His background is he was a lawyer. But here's the other thing in my district specifically, where I think it's important is that my district North Carolina 13 runs from the Virginia border. Because you mentioned this in the very beginning of the show of the gerrymandering. My district is one of the most gerrymandered over the last election cycles. That from the district from 2020, you wouldn't recognize it at all from going into this one, and that was just 2 election cycles. So when you look at it, my district as it is right now goes from the Virginia border and pretty much like a straight column down through central North Carolina and ends south about at Fort Bragg, where I am. And I live in my district, and I've lived in this district, even all the changes that have happened. I'm right in the center of the district. So I've lived in this district the entire time for the last 18 years. But in the district here, the majority of people in this district are either currently serving in the military, because you got Fort Bragg, you got Camp Lejeune, Marine Corps, but you also have a lot of retirees. And the incumbent Republican never served a day in his life in the military. And the Democrat that's running never served a day in his life in the military. So for me, as not only a veteran, but a recipient and a disabled veteran, do I care about the VA? You're darn right I do. Do I care about health care for all? Because people think, oh, you retire, all your health care is taken care of. Bullshit. No, it is not. Under certain conditions of retirement based on your injuries or your disabilities, part of it is, but not all of it. So if you're getting out of the military, let's say you did 8 years and you don't get your retirement. If you only did 8 years or so, you don't get retirement unless you did 20 or more. So you didn't serve 20 years. You don't get your retirement, and you're out back on the economy and you're trying to get health care and the premiums go up. And you can't get everything you can from the VA because of your disability rating. So you're kind of stuck. So, so in this district, I'm like, okay, well, who do you think is going to represent you? A millionaire lawyer who doesn't live in the district, who takes money from AIPAC and is Israel first. You think he's going to represent us? But he got elected in last cycle, and he's the incumbent this cycle. And what I have to say to America is that we are at the point we are in our history because we have allowed it. So the question we must ask all of ourselves right now at this point in history, in 2026, are we going to do something to change it? Or are we going to act like the helpless victims that just have to accept it the way it is? Because if we continue to accept it, we are all doomed.
Right. Same thing with Citizens United and how much damage that's done. Same thing with the congressional stock trading. It's like it's overwhelming because the corruption is now so entrenched. But at the same time, and I agree with you, we also, as regular American citizens, we have to take some responsibility for our own lives and actually fight back, because you can't sit there and say, I understand our system is really corrupt. It's really awful. Everything is so terrible. Citizens United is terrible. Our country is so corrupt. Our politicians are corrupt. And then when we're like, okay, so we need to do something about it, and we can at least start doing something about it by like electing a Green Party member candidate who doesn't take all that kind of money. And then people are like, I don't vote. I'm like,
well, yeah, my neighbor who I've known for a long time, great person. But anyway, we were talking, a couple weeks ago, and this guy, he can tell you the starting lineup, the second string, the third to the third quarterback for everybody that's ever played on the Jacksonville Jaguars, our closest football team here in North Carolina. He can tell you the coach's name, the coach's date of birth, everything about it. And by God, loves football. Okay, great. And one day we were talking, he was talking about how the price of this is going up and the price of that's going up. And I was like, I hear you, brother. I hear you. Who's our congressional representative?
Right.
I don't know. And I'm like, huh. So before anyone wants to tell me that we have no agency or we can't do anything about it, I don't want to hear it. Get out there and vote. You have to be active in the process, or the process will control you. And that's what we're coming to now. We are at the precipice of, with this administration, in this environment, with the conditions that are set. Believe me, if you don't think that Donald Trump will use this war with Iran as a pretense to suspend midterm elections, you're living, your head's in the sand. Your head's in the sand. I got a bridge to sell you.
Yeah.
Wake up.
They're going to do it that way, or they're going to try to cheat. They're going to try to steal it. I mean, January 6th wasn't that long ago. We saw him try to steal an election before. Like that, but that's something that hopefully, I'm sure your campaign probably already understands, is that a lot of people are constantly fighting with each other over, well, you shouldn't be a Democrat, you shouldn't be a Republican, or you should do that. So many people in this country don't vote at all. All. They're not registered. As you said, they can tell you everything about what's going on at the Oscars, but they don't know who their city council member is. It's like, I need Americans to, you know what I want to stop hearing in 2026? I know, we already did our resolutions. I don't want to hear anymore. I don't get involved in politics. I don't want to hear it.
No, you're right. That is the, I don't get involved in politics is probably one of the most disgusting things I've ever heard, because in America, where we talk about our nation and our Constitution and our rights and how we're great. Well, one of the great responsibilities in that greatness, if you believe it, is the electoral process, is voting. I'll tell you what, I have been in countries where people would give their lives to have the opportunity to cast a vote. In fact, they do give their lives. When I was in Iraq,
people have given their lives here so that people could have the right to vote.
Yes. So when people want to talk about patriotism, I'm like, okay, so you're fine with sending your child to go die in Iran for this pedophile Epstein class government, but you don't vote. Well, no, because I am a patriot and I don't question my government. I'm like, then you're not a patriot. You're an idiot.
Yeah. Did you see? Oh, I got to ask you. I know I've been keeping you for a really long time. I could talk to you forever.
This is great. This is great. I'm
I wanted to ask you about. I don't know if you saw it yesterday. MS Now did a panel of veterans, and we're asking them about the war in Iran. It was like a long table of all these different veterans, some in active duty, some just veterans who had previously served. it was so painful watching some of it because this one guy who was like active duty service member was like, yeah, but Trump said that, we needed to go and I trust him. And I know that he wouldn't send us if it wasn't serious. I'm like, bro, like it was crazy. It was crazy watching some of
the thing is that we have to where I think it's important that veterans that have served, that are out now, that they don't control us. They don't, for example, when as a retiree, I'm entirely retired. And the day I went to Congress and I decided to don my uniform once again to stand up to Congress and say, honor your oath to the Constitution, the backlash from the military veteran community. Oh my God, you shouldn't have worn your uniform. Why not? Why not? I've seen some of y'all wearing your uniform to Trump events or wearing your uniform to protest X, Y, and Z. There were a lot of people that wore their uniform or various parts of their uniform at the January 6th riots. So what's the problem with it? Oh, because you don't agree with my position. And, then they said, oh, well, you wore your uniform in participation in a political process. I'm like, so? Well, that violates.
So do they.
That violates DOD instructional whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it sure does. You're damn right it does. And DOD instructional can kiss my ass because it doesn't apply to you if you're retired. So I don't care. So
you know what it reminds me of? Have you ever seen the movie Born on the 4th of July?
Yes.
Okay, remember when the guy's fighting with him because he gets so mad that he criticizes the military. He goes, fuck you, America, love it or leave it, leave it.
Yeah, and I understand that concept from most Americans, and believe me, I feel that. I sometimes feel that way in certain things, but then the development of my frontal lobe takes over again, and it's like that's probably not the way to look at that. My whatever part of that brain is where you just have like this instinctual sense to want to be like
the lizard
brain, but then like my frontal lobe is like, well, let's look at this from a rational perspective. You're like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. So like, yeah, after 9/11, these evil, bad jihadists, they're not going to kill my family. And, months later, I'm on a black Chinook special operations helicopter flying through the mountains of Tora Bora, landing in some village. It's dark, coming out in the middle of the night, covered in night vision and weapons, looking like something off of Call of Duty 6, and waiting till sunrise to infiltrate into this village. And we infiltrate and we say, we're here to help train your militia to overthrow the Taliban. And this old man, probably in his 90s, looks at me and he's like, are y'all Russians? I'm like, no, we're not Russians. We're talking about, we're America. Oh, the last white guys that came to talk to us were Russians. The Russians were in Afghanistan in the 90s.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're not the Russians. I was like, what year do you think this is? He was like, and we're like, well, we're here to train you because we want to train you and arm you as a militia to defend yourselves against the Taliban. And they're like, the who? The what? And we're like, the Taliban, the government of Afghanistan. And they're like, oh, those guys? Oh, we never see them. We don't care. And we're like, no. We're going to train you to defend yourselves against these monsters. And they're like, but we don't want you to. And we're like, well, no, we don't care, bro. They're like, you want, and we're like, well, if we don't train you and you don't want the training, then you must be part of them. And you're going to want to come and fight us in America and kill my family. And they're like, I could care less. I don't even know where America is. Which way is it? I don't know. I've read about it. Like people, like we think that every day in Iran, they wake up and they want to destroy America.
They think about it as
true. They wake up and I'm like, the most disgusting people we have in the world of politics are right here in our country, in our government, in the shape of a guy like Randy Fine. I've never heard the Ayatollah say that dogs are better than Christians. Never heard him say that.
That guy is one of the most despicable filth. I am so humiliated that he is a representative.
Florida's United States 6th Congressional District voted him in not once, not twice, but 3 times. So I agree with you. Disgusting. He didn't win from a military coup. He was elected, and he doesn't even live in their district.
It's insane. It's so shameful. Like, I'm so disgusted. He's such a vile piece of shit. Like, I just can't.
I've seen him in person, and he's gross. Like, he smells like mothballs and Cheetos, and he looks like someone just stuffed him into a suit like a parody, like a mascot, like a clown, and he just spits out hateful rhetoric. And people of America say, oh yeah, that's our Randy, we love him. I'm like, he doesn't even live in your district.
He's so disgusting. And he, to me, is like, it's like the same like feeling like of shock that I kind of had actually when I first started watching the TikToks of the military of the IOF, and they're acting psychotic and genocidal and also really incompetent. Like, I don't know, maybe it's because our military propaganda was a lot better. I feel like our military propaganda coming from the American military was just a lot better. They did a much better job of like looking serious. So when I was first watching the videos from the IOF and they're doing all these goofy ass dances and they look like fucking idiots and they're like really out of shape, I was like, what am I watching? I was like, what? Like, it was so, and so that's kind of how I felt when I first saw Randy Fine. Cause like, it's not like, I don't know, we have bloodthirsty, warmongering, genocidal ghouls in our Congress. I know we have got Lindsey Graham and Tom Cotton and all them other clowns, but there's something about Randy Swine that I'm just like, you are filth. You're disgusting. I need Floridians, because I know the Florida men down there and everything else, but I need you guys to do a little better. I get it's a Republican district, but can you just do a little better than Randy Fine, who's disgusting?
But when I see like the Randy Fine, there's more that will follow him if we elect them. When I look at Lindsey Graham, there's more that will follow him if we elect them. When I look at Tom Cotton, there's more that are behind them if we elect them. And the problem is that the way history has shown, at least in my lifetime, is that we will continue to elect them. And the way I see it now at this point in my life is I look back and I'm like, they'll figure it out. They always figure it out. We'll be just fine. And I look at it now and I'm like, no, I am not going to leave my children the free candy van of democracy driven by Randy Fine, Lindsey Graham, and Tom Cotton and their offspring or their lineage to have the right to govern our nation.
Unless you think that, I don't know if you're religious at all, but lest anyone think that because a lot of people see his grotesque Islamophobia and the fact that no one's called for him to be censured except for maybe like 2 people in Congress. His ass should have been. Rashida Tlaib got censored for defending From the River to the Sea. They don't censor his racist fucking ass, his Islamophobic ass, unless you think they're not going to come for Christians. If you are somebody who doesn't care about Islamophobia, which you should, because it's immoral and we live in a multicultural society and it's evil to be that way. But even if you don't, look at it from a self-preservation point of view. Look at the way they talk about Christians. Look at what they did to that Corrine Bowler woman. They hate you too.
Well, no, so believe it or not, like prior to my experience in Gaza, where I met the ridiculous Johnny Moore, he was so weird in the things he was saying. And I'm like, who is this guy? And so I looked him up and I saw, Liberty University. He's now the vice dean at Pepperdine for religious studies in DC. If you look at the latest prayer session in the Oval Office where this new religious advisor to Donald Trump was speaking in tongues. Have you seen that?
Yes, I haven't.
Yeah. Well, if you look at that, the person who's standing to Donald Trump's right, the audience's left, that's Johnny Moore standing there with his arm on his shoulder. That's Johnny Moore, the guy in charge of the GHF. So when you look at that, and I'm like, so prior to my time in Gaza, I did not know what it was, nor that it existed, the philosophy of Christian Zionism.
Were you
I
raised atheist?
No, I was raised Catholic.
Oh, you're Catholic. That's why. Okay, so
But
you're not.
I didn't know anything about Christian Zionism. I knew that Zionism existed. I knew that Christianity existed. I knew that there was evangelical Christianity or evangelical thought, but I didn't know that there was such thing as Christian Zionism. And I thought that when people said it, I thought they were like throwing it out as an insult, like, oh, this guy's a Christian Zionist. And I was like, oh, that's funny because, you know, two things that can't exist, right? It's funny. And they're like, no, like that's it's real. And I'm like, how? I don't.
And also,
Zionism believes this, Christianity believes this.
right.
If both were to have their way in the final judgment in the end of the world, who decides who then? Like, do we all become one or the other? How can you
Christian Zionism
is one of both? That's like saying I'm Coke Pepsi. I'm Coke Pepsi. Like, is Coke going to buy Pepsi or is Pepsi going to buy Coke? Because you can't have both. And this philosophy of it has led me to believe that it's not religion.
No,
it's power.
Christian evangelical Christianity in this country, and people get very butthurt about it because there are a lot of evangelical Christians in this country. It is not only a cult, okay, but it's also, I would even describe it more so as an MLM scam. People don't understand, unless you have been raised anywhere near it or know people like it, what lunacy evangelical Christianity is. And we never criticize it because A, a lot of Americans are evangelicals, and B, we don't really criticize it because we're afraid to be critical of it. And a lot of people have just never met them, even though there's a lot of them. And the Christian evangelical in this country is the Christian Zionist, which is why when like that whole brouhaha happened where Tucker Carlson got like condemned for saying Christian Zionism was bad, I was like, bitch, don't you dare walk back from that, because when you said that, it was correct. Christian Zionism is evil. Not only, as you said, it makes no fucking sense, but you cannot be a true Bible believing, we believe in Jesus Christ as the Lord and Savior that died on the cross. He's the fulfillment of the law from the Old Testament. You cannot believe that and be a Zionist. They are opposed to each other.
And so when I look at those two theories of those things, for another example, Mike Huckabee, evangelical Christian Zionist, and I'll say that now without hesitation, because before I thought saying that was like being anti-Semite. Like, don't say that. But now I know that no, being opposed to Zionism doesn't make someone an anti-Semite or anti-Jewish. Zionism does not represent
an ideology. It's an ideology. It's an ideology the same way that being a Republican is an ideology, a conservative is an ideology, a liberal is an ideology. But back to what you said about the guilt, that is also the way we're indoctrinated, because I felt the same way. Yeah. You're indoctrinated in such a way to where to even criticize Zionism or Israel, you're like, I can't do that. I really believed that. When this first started happening, I thought, oh, it's so awful what Israel is doing. But I was afraid to talk about it because I was afraid of being perceived as anti-Semitic, because they have successfully fused the two together. If you know, that little bitch, Jonathan Greenblatt, that little propagandist, that little twerp who's always running around saying that you can't criticize Israel without being anti-Semitic, they successfully fuse those things so that even in your own mind, in my own mind, I didn't even feel comfortable criticizing Israel, because to me that meant, oh, you're being anti-Semitic. What do you want? And again, that's the implication. What do you want? Jews to die again?
Yeah, I saw this meme the other day, and it's horrific, but in a way it captures the sense of that. And it had Prime Minister Mielikowski. I don't call him Netanyahu. That's not his name.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I call him Mielikowski. So Prime Minister Mielikowski is standing there, and behind him are coffins with the American flag, and he was like, get in the box or you're anti-Semitic.
Yes, and, I love that.
And it's like they've brainwashed us into thinking to where, like, because even now American service members, the younger service members are like, shit, I didn't sign up for this. But those that have been in for a while, like my cohort of people that that came in a little bit after me that are still in doing their 20, or those like me that stayed in that are now going on to 25, 30 years that are general officers. And they think they're like, yeah, this is our duty. Yeah, we got to defend Israel at all costs. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? What happened to you? What is wrong with you? But it is indoctrinated in our culture.
It is
to believe and feel that, and the thing is, it does not apply to any other nation on earth. Even right. even other nations that are actual really good allies. That we, like if there's any alliance that the United States has taken a big dump on year after year after year after year after year, that in all their fighting by our side have gotten nothing from it, it's the Kurds.
Oh, but, yeah.
Man, we'll throw them under the bus in a heartbeat.
Yeah, always under the bus. But you're right about that. It's indoctrination. You don't question it. But I think that that's something that broke inside of all of us because of the Gaza genocide, because I never did question it. And it was, if you question it, you're anti-Semitic. And what about Jewish people? And what about their safety? And if you're a decent human being, you obviously care and you don't want anybody to be hurt. You, of course, don't want Jews to be hurt. We learn about the Holocaust and all of that. And I believe fully in that and was like, no, I can't. So if I criticize Israel, that means I'm being anti-Semitic and I don't want to be racist and this and that. And it's like,
I criticize Israel, even more dangerous, because a lot of Americans don't know what a Semite or an anti-Semite is. The way they've attached it now is if you criticize Israel, you're anti-American.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that's what hits a lot of people where they're like, oh, I don't want to be, I'll be this, right. I'll be this anti-Semite, whatever. I don't know what that shit is, but anti-American. Not me. Not me.
Exactly. They've tied their identity to it. Like, this is about patriotism, which is one of the things that triggers me so much. I can't stand when I see people with those merged American and Israeli flags. And like, pisses me off so much. I'm just like,
and believe me, if I am Mexican. If behind me right now, you saw an American flag merged in with a Mexican flag, I guarantee you there'd be a ton of haters out there saying like, oh, this traitor, go back to Mexico. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
100%. Because you know what? You're right, 100%, because they did it to that Carrie Bowler girl. Yes. When she was testifying, she had a Palestinian witness side by side, how they always have the side by side pins. One had like people wear them all the time. They've got like the Ukraine flag, the American flag. She had one, and I have one too, with the Palestinian, the American flag.
Yeah, I got one too.
Ripped her for that. They were saying, she's got a terror pin. Meanwhile, that little piece of shit Shabbos Kastenbaum, in that same religious liberty hearing, which LOL, the whole thing, the mask got ripped off that shit by that. He has an Israeli flag on his lapel during that same thing. I was like, this is crazy. Okay.
Well, Lindsey Graham now wears a lapel pin that is the flag of South Carolina and the flag of Israel. It doesn't even have the U.S. flag.
It's so crazy. Like this, I am so over this treason.
They're not even hiding it.
No, they don't. And so, like you said, though, they've kind of fused that propaganda together to be like, oh, they're one and the same. But then I look at that and I'm like, wait a second. I never saw you become the 51st state. So why are you hanging out over here with our shit? And then, because again, it's one thing for me to hate on my own government and say, fuck Donald Trump and fuck that rapist, alleged lookalike. I'm not actually accusing him. Don't sue me about looking, but he definitely looks like he has some sexual assault in his past. I'm just saying. It's one thing for me to go and trash them, right? Because this is my country. But when Milikowski and all them other motherfuckers over in the Israeli regime and all those other terrorists are talking, I'm like, I'm so sorry. You don't even go here. You don't even go here. Why are you demanding my money? This bitch comes to our Congress and gets standing ovations and is demanding money from us. Like, how dare you? How dare you come to our country and tell us?
Before somebody else takes that, you need to capitalize on this, and you need to make a shirt that has Lindsey Graham on it saying something, but on the top it says, you don't even go here.
Right.
Like you need to capitalize on that with the Israeli flag. You don't even go here.
They don't. And it's so
you're right. That's exactly what it is. It's like, you don't get to come and vote in our elections and tell us what we get to eat in the cafeteria or what we're going to have at the senior prom. You don't even go here.
The entitlement from the Israelis is honestly really next level. Like the entitlement they feel they have to our money, our troops. Like I really can't handle it. Like, it's just like, it makes me so mad. And like, the thing is too about that too, about that was something when we talk about the indoctrination that we had that really broke in me watching the Gaza genocide. And even when you first came forward and all the interviews that you did was just, there is something about watching what they've done to the Palestinian people, just on a human level. You know, it's why they banned TikTok. That just, it kind of ripped the mask off of it for me.
I sometimes I feel like I'm fortunate and blessed that I stepped in to the degree that I did, because I did so not knowing what I was getting into. When I stepped into this, I didn't think that, oh God, I'm going to be a I just thought like, hey, there's a genocide going on. Like, we're killing like this army, insert whatever name, this army that's Israeli, the Israeli army is murdering and killing women and children against violations of the Geneva Convention and international law, of which I am very well versed in. They're violating that law for sure. And so we're a part of it. Like, that's wrong. No, in my wildest dreams, did I not think that when I stepped up in that position, that the response to me would be traitor, you're a terrorist, or
reporting our own laws.
Like, so in first stepping into that, if I like, thank God for my ignorance. Thank God that I didn't know what everyone else knew, because I don't know if I would have not spoken out, but I think I may have been more hesitant, or maybe I would have, but I went all in on it because I was like, yeah, this is really wrong, and everybody needs to know this without knowing the risk, because I didn't recognize it. And then once I stepped into it, seeing the risk, I was like, well, I'm in it now, so let's fucking go. Let's do it, because it doesn't matter what the risks are. This is still wrong. I spoke out because it's wrong. The risks that I've now assumed doesn't make it any less wrong. So risks be damned. I guess that's just the way it goes. But I just think it's and I'll tell you now, it's maybe it's vindication. I don't know, maybe because I saw it, but there's this guy, I think his last name is McIntosh. He was another contractor over there. I don't know the guy, but he's recently come out with his footage from his time there with the GHF.
That was actually on my list of the last question or thing I wanted to bring up and talk to you about, which was that I wanted to get your thoughts on that. Like, how does it feel to be vindicated? Because that guy released that footage of them literally shooting at Palestinians that were running. They're running for food and they're shooting at them. And they said that you were a liar when you said that they were shooting at them. Oh, yeah.
When I said that the IDF and the GHF with my own videos and pictures were shooting at them, oh, he's a liar. Mike Huckabee, in his little interview with Tucker, even went out of his way to say that the IDF shooting at people, never has that happened. So yeah, with this gentleman, I don't know the gentleman. He and I didn't coordinate that. I didn't know he had that information. Obviously he's had it for a while, because the GHF stopped operations October 10th. So November, December, January, February, March. So 5 months later. So that's information that he's had, and he obviously had a lot more than I had from. He must have been in a higher position, or he's got footage of things that I wouldn't have had access to while I was there. So he was there after me. So imagine if you have someone that at a point in time was like, yeah, that's wrong, and then later down the road, a completely different data point says, oh yeah, that's wrong. And those two things corroborate. When I saw him release that footage, I thought it was some like recycled or someone just like reposting some of my old footage. But then when I saw it, I was like, whoa, this is a lot more. And I saw it, the gentleman's name, because I think it was like King David or something. I think his name's David McIntosh. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know the individual. So when I saw it, I was like, oh no, this is someone else's entirely their own perspective. And it's everything I've said. So in a sense, I felt vindicated. In a sense, in the back of my head, I felt, told y'all motherfuckers, like I told you, like I told you.
Have you tried to reach to him at all since then?
Yeah, I did message him on Instagram. I just reached out to him and I said, hey, I just I saw what you had posted. If anyone gives you pushback or grief, realize that I've seen it too. what you're demonstrating. Because I don't know if he knew who I was or what. So I just said, hey, I've seen it too. I can completely corroborate what you've seen. I saw it too. And he said to me, he's like, yeah, I've been following you. And, I decided that, I needed to come out with this because of the continued lies of the Israeli government against the Palestinian people, that they're not being shot at, or it's not a genocide. He's like, I couldn't hold on to it any longer. And since he's come out, he's been getting a lot of the same blowback that I did. Oh, he's lying. Oh, he's making it up. Or he was a disgruntled employee. Well, he's not a disgruntled employee. He stayed there until the end of the contract. So he didn't quit nor was fired. He stayed there through the whole contract. So
I want to know what they have on our politicians, that our politicians are more willing to defend Israel against accurate accusations than they are even willing to defend Americans.
American service members who were there. Like, I'm not
physically there.
I'm not speaking out because I saw something online from somebody that somebody posted. I'm like, oh, that's wrong from my military perspective. I was there and saw it. Like, and I'm like, look at this. And they're like, nope. And I'm like, okay, well, who do you believe?
You were an example, though, to me of how fucking insane this whole thing is, because I was like, so it doesn't matter. It's not like he's some radical leftist. He's not some communist, some activist. This guy was in the military for 25 years, and they are still attacking him and discrediting him and calling him a liar on behalf of Israel. So don't give me this, oh, we just don't believe them because it's some leftist. It's like, no, it's not. It's a military guy, and it doesn't matter. They don't care. They're going to smear. They're going to lie. They're going to break your arm like they did to that guy in Congress. The utter disrespect, okay? And it's so crazy. And I mean, I'm glad that guy released it because it's indisputable facts. Like, we see what you are doing. And it's some of the most despicable thing that I've ever seen. Like, just
it's horrific.
It is
disgusting. It is horrific. It is one of the most depraved and despicable acts of human nature. Like, I would imagine that if we had full color HD video, not remastered stuff that, is pixelated, but I'm talking about like the real deal of what was happening during the Holocaust, of how Jews and others were being gunned down by Nazi guards in these concentration camps. Like, that's the equivalent of what it would be. And to sit there,
and that's exactly how it looked in the photos that you had. It looked like a concentration camp. It was so crazy. And like the way you described, which is why listening to your interviews were so valuable, because it's like you describe things that, like, I was like, nobody else had talked about, like the fact that they had all these barely any checkpoints, and then they were setting up these distribution centers in these areas that were incredibly dangerous. Like, it was ratchet as fuck. Like, what kind of professional? And did they ever find out who was funding that shit? Did anybody ever find out?
So they have, quote unquote, followed the money. And here's what's really disturbing that I'm going to, I guess, jump into another awareness campaign of. But under this Board of Peace, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has been contracted as the entity for humanitarian aid in Gaza at what they're now calling humanitarian assistance transition areas.
Are you kidding?
So under this new Board of Peace, the International Stabilization Force will divide Gaza up into 4 sections. There'll be a section under U.S. control, a section under Armenian control, a section under Azerbaijani control, and a section under Malaysian control. And in each one of these sections that pretty much aligns to Rafah, Mawasi, Khan Yunis, and Gaza City, will each have within them these concentrated centers because there's nowhere to live. Everything's destroyed. Right. So part of what's happening right now under the Board of Peace is that they're building these humanitarian assistance transition areas. They are encampments that concentrate the remaining population in these different zones into these camps. They're concentration camps.
Literally.
And in these encampments, there's no hardwired electricity. There's no running water. It's porta-johns and tents and generator power when and if they bring fuel. So they're making the conditions so unlivable that as you're in this area, as you get transitioned, let's say you're living in Gaza City in a blown up piece of building, and they evacuate you to one of these centers. And while you're there, conditions become even worse. They then offer you, well, you can leave. Here you go. One-way ticket.
And that's what they've been doing, because they were shocked at how, because the Palestinians, this is their land. They have been shocked, and even some have admitted this, that they thought that they would have already driven them all out by now, by the horrifying conditions they put them through. And so many of the Palestinians have been like, no, we're not leaving.
The battle cry now for every Palestinian worldwide, in the West Bank and in Gaza, but worldwide, and for everybody that stands with them, specifically in Gaza, that existence is resistance.
Exactly.
To exist and not leave, which is why they need the world's support, because it's not going to come from the humanitarian aid. It's not going to come from this bullshit board of peace. It's not going to come from the good graces of American diplomacy. No, we are part of the problem. So you're going to have these humanitarian assistance transition areas that are managed like a corporation, like mega prisons are in the United States, controlled by Halliburton or Kellogg Brown and Root.
Yes.
You're going to have these humanitarian assistance transition areas in Gaza, controlled and run by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and the contractor who's in charge of the security. The security at these sites is the employer that I once worked for, UG Solutions, who have once again hired the majority of the Infidels Motorcycle Club. So now are you not only going to have guards at these distribution points, you're going to have guards in towers, on the wall, inside the encampments of these permanent concentrated encampments. Words. We are going to see an influx and an increase in human trafficking, sexual assault, starvation, abuse, all kinds of the worst nefarious things you could imagine when an outlaw motorcycle club is in charge of security in a war zone.
And they want to build and turn Gaza, the beachfront properties, into luxury hotels on the skulls of Palestinian children. Like, this might be a good like wrapping up point that I think I want everybody to hear. We have to oppose this. Like, we can't just let people think like, oh, there's nothing we can do. Oh, that's really sad for Gaza. Like, no, like, we as Americans, as humans, as people of the world, we have to oppose this with everything. Like, this is the dystopian hellscape, what they have planned for Gaza. It's so terrifying. It's sickening. Jared Kushner is a demon. Okay. Like, he looks like a creepy attic doll from a horror film.
Yeah, he looks like that ventriloquist, the boy that lives in the walls in that movie, The Boy. Google it real quick. Google movie The Boy, and look at that and tell me that's not Jared Kushner.
The Boy movie. What year is it?
I don't remember, but it should come up.
2016, I see. Okay, images. Oh my gosh, you're right. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up so that chat can see. Wait.
At first, when I first saw that, I thought it was a meme about Jared Kushner, but no, it's a movie. And yeah, it's Jared Kushner.
You're right. Oh my gosh. That's so disturbing. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh, and I'm sorry. I hate to like keep you any longer, but I didn't get to finish the Mike Huckabee clip. So
go for it.
I want to finish it. Okay. All right. It's not that much longer.
A little boy that a week later we found.
And you're sure it's the same little boy?
We're absolutely
How
certain.
do you know that?
Because we have pictures of him. We had descriptions of him. We know his name. We know his mother.
Okay.
He was extricated out of Gaza. It was a very delicate situation to get him out, because if Hamas had found out that he was still alive, they would have killed him in order to validate Aguilar's story.
How do you know that?
So he gets out.
How do you know Hamas would have killed him?
Why wouldn't they? Wouldn't they have wanted to kill him? Because that way they could have said that this story was true.
Look,
that Aguilar,
I'm
just telling you that
what you're saying is true, and I have no basis of knowing.
Yeah.
I'm really glad, because I don't want little kids to get killed, even 14-year-olds. Okay.
You shouldn't want anyone to.
But let me ask you: is it true? He also made the claim, and he had audio of it and video too, that U.S. contractors were using live ammunition to disperse crowds, and he had video of that. Do you know did he make up that video?
There were times. Here's what happened. Crowds would come toward the sites. They were given verbal warnings, and then they were given additional verbal warnings, and shots were fired either in the air, sometimes in the ground. And if they continued to come and threaten, there were times when there were people who were engaged in firefights. That happened.
Oh, they were armed?
Sometimes they were.
They were. Do you know of specific instances where they were armed?
I can probably get you some specific information about that.
I think I know the answer to that. I don't think there's any evidence at all that they were armed.
But I also know that.
Are you okay with using live ammunition at aid distribution sites for families, women, and children?
Well, very rarely did this happen here.
How about at all? Are you okay with that?
No. I'll tell you what I'm not okay with. No. I think you are so trying to put words in my mouth.
You said that they were firing back, but then there's no evidence that they were.
On a Sunday afternoon, I can remember when there was widespread reports on BBC, CNN, and the New York Times, and they said that 27 people were killed at a feeding site. We had video extensively over that site. Not one single person, not only were they not shot, nobody was shot at. There was not one bit of violence that happened at that feeding site.
Trying to get me to defend BBC? I'm not going to do that. It's like defending Hamas. I agree with you. I don't believe anything I see in the media. It's just that it's really simple. If people are using, and these were American contractors, by the way, these are not Israelis that I'm aware of. American contractors run by some crypto minister or something was running the group. If they're using live ammunition at an aid distribution site, that strikes me as totally unacceptable.
They were not firing.
Does it seem acceptable to you?
They were not firing at
people got killed.
Live.
There's a way to.
Some of those people got killed because Hamas were trying to keep them from getting to the aid distribution sites because Hamas was controlling the food. Hamas made $500 million selling the food that was supposed to be given away for free.
Defend Hamas.
And what they were trying to do is to keep people from going to the sites where they were getting food for free. When we set GHF up,
Hamas
the first thing that happened, I know, but I'm telling you, the first thing that people said was, wow, this is the first time we've had food that we got for free.
Is it okay to shoot unarmed people?
I just told you it wasn't.
That's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Of course it's awful.
Are all lives equal, do you think?
Of course they are.
So the death of a Palestinian is every bit as important and significant as the death of Israel?
Why wouldn't it be? Of course it is.
I don't know.
Of course it is. There's no such thing as a human soul that God made that is less valuable than another. I'm pro-life.
Me too.
So I believe that every life has intrinsic worth and value. There's no such thing as a worthless or a completely disposable life. That's what makes me pro-life, Tucker.
I totally agree.
And I believe that from the conception until the end of natural life.
That's why I would never say when confronted with the death of children, war is terrible, because it minimizes the deaths of those children. It's awful.
I don't think it minimizes. I think it is outrageous. It's a terrible thing. I wish we never had war. Why do we have war?
We're about to have one with Iran, it looks like. How many Americans?
Yeah, so I guess that's the end of it. So many lies, but also I love how he goes, I'm pro-life, pretending to be pro-life. But like 5 minutes earlier, he was defending the murder of 14-year-old boys in Gaza because they were of fighting age. That's why Tucker in that part was like, even if they're 14, like he was literally defending it. Also, I love how they don't realize how much we all make fun of them with their but Hamas shit. Everything is Hamas. The distribution site is Hamas. Oh, there were firefights. Hamas stole the it's like these people are a joke. And also, there's zero evidence. Zero. The firefights. Like he literally just made all that up.
There was in all of the videos you can see from David McIntosh and all the videos from me and also from my personal testimony, there was never, not once, a Palestinian who was armed. We never had Hamas lining up at the gates of these distribution sites ready for battle. We didn't have Hamas fighters infiltrating and conducting suicide attacks. There wasn't one instance of an attack of rock throwing, shooting, pushing, yelling, aggressiveness at all from the thousands and thousands of Palestinians that came to these sites, many of which ended up dead. He is a complete liar. And again, this is what I would say to any American or any human being listening. You have the testimony of a 25-year Green Beret who has spent his entire life in war, who knows what right and wrong is, who served his country, who has never once advocated for the release of a convicted espionage traitor to the United States, who has never once said any other nation at all, regardless of what that nation is, first or foremost ahead of America. And for the world to sit there and listen to this man say anything. And here's his response to everybody about this young boy Amir. When Tucker asked him, well, how do you know? We have pictures. Okay, well, I had pictures. We have testimony. Okay, you have my testimony. Well, we knew his name. Okay, well, I knew his name. Well, we knew his mother. I talked to his mother and his stepmother and his uncle. So how come everything they say is their evidence should be taken hands down factually, but everything that I provided as evidence is discredited?
But that's the fascinating thing, though, about
doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. But that's the fascinating thing about that interview with Tucker, is that, and I wish you would see it more with people. It's good when he does it because he's on the right. So people on the right are generally more willing to talk to him than they are willing to talk to somebody who is perceived on the left or mainstream media. But it is incredible how quickly their shit falls apart the second you ask a follow-up, and how the reason why these narratives are not dispelled more often is because they don't ask follow-ups. That was, like, to me, the overriding theme of that entire almost 3-hour interview with Tucker Carlson and Mike Huckabee, was that you remember, like, oh, that's the reason why they get away with lying all the time. The propagandists, the Zionists, no one ever asks follow-ups. Tucker Carlson just asks some basic follow-ups, and every time he does, Mike Huckabee's story falls apart. And it's like you said, what is your evidence that that boy is still alive? Oh, well, we have pictures. Oh, you haven't provided any evidence. The only evidence that you have is that, like, you're saying that you have pictures. Well, so does he. And you're saying you have biometric data, but you haven't provided any of that biometric data. So who am I going to believe? The guy who hasn't lied constantly and has been in the military and was actually there, physically there, or you liars? I think
if the GHF, Mike Huckabee, or the Zionist Collective were to write a research paper, their sources, their annotated bibliography, and their footnotes would say, "Trust me, bro."
Literally.
They're just, I mean, but
literally. But for real though, because they're not, and that's why they fall apart in those interviews. Because I think Mike Huckabee and
they're entitled. They think that people are going to take that "trust me, bro," because it's coming from the mouth of the U.S. ambassador. And the truth to him is that the world now sees you, Ambassador Huckabee, as a clown.
Yes. And that it falls apart because they're not used to being asked. That's the sense I got when I saw his interview with Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz has been on a jihad for the last couple months trying to, like, make up his reputation since he got humiliated by Tucker Carlson in that interview, which I'm never going to get over, that he literally said, I went into the Senate to represent Israel. Like, I'm like, how is that not everywhere? How is that not a bigger deal that the United States Senator said that, who's
everybody from the state of Texas. Everybody from the state of Texas should be up in arms to demand
for real
being kicked out of the Senate.
Yeah, that's the kind of shit that gets me. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Why are you not being driven out of Congress after saying such insane shit like that? But, like, my sense was in that interview was that he was caught off guard. He wasn't used to being asked. When Tucker Carlson was like, do you even know how many people live in Iran? He was like, what job?
Can you imagine if, like, a senator from California said, I ran for the Senate and I'm in Senate for China?
I know.
Oh my God. We would, like, ICE would have arrested him a long time ago.
Literally, though. I mean, that was kind of how I started seeing how full of shit they all were and how sus it was the way our Congress and leaders talk about Israel. Is because all I would do was I would put Russia in its place. Imagine if somebody said that about Russia. Can you imagine the meltdown?
China and Russia are better allies to us than Israel, because China and Russia, before we started this war, came to us diplomatically and said, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even like you, and it would be in our interests for you to lose this war. But just from a standpoint of, like, superpower to superpower, you know, like hegemon to hegemon, like, that's a stupid idea, man. Don't do it. Like, we'd rather beat you fairly than beat you once you destroy yourselves. Like, don't do it. Like, Russia and China are better allies to us than Israel.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So with that being
said, like, can you imagine if the United States and Russia and China put its collective education, engineering, skills, economies together for good, we would have like literally universal healthcare as in meaning for like the universe. Well, we would have like every nation would have a high-speed train. We'd have quantum computing. We would like have cured every uncurable disease. Like
you're
if
right,
we
though.
work together with these, like look at China right now. When you like, and this is part of what the American
so depressing
wants to make you look. You look in China, and China's like, wow, they've got it. Damn, that looks pretty nice. Like they're, and then they're saying, well, they have a lot of nice things, but they live under the oppressive government of Xi Jinping. And I'm like, I don't think he's as oppressive as Donald Trump.
They don't look very oppressed to me. First of all, they have high-speed rail, and bitch, we don't even have high-speed rail.
The high-speed rail that they just completed is the fastest thing on earth.
Right. And we don't even have high-speed rail from Boston to DC or to New York. If I go to visit my sisters in Massachusetts, it takes me 8 hours to get there if I take the bus because it's 9 years. And even in the occasional times that I've splurged and paid like the $300 to take the Acela, the fucking Amtrak, it's still 4 hours, 4.5 hours.
Well, if I want to take the Amtrak right here out of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and jump on the eastbound Amtrak up to Washington, D.C., 8 hours. I can fucking walk it that fast. It's like,
no, it's so crazy.
That's literally twice as long as it would be to drive. And I'm like, what are we doing?
I think that we need to all collectively start talking about what a world could look like if we didn't live under this kind of corrupt pedophile Epstein.
Imagine if we didn't spend trillions of dollars every year, or just in the last 15, 16 days of this war where we're spending like $17.9 billion a day. Just imagine when somebody says, well, we can't have that and we can't have this. No, we can. We can. Our government is the drunk, dissociated, deadbeat dad who comes to visit once a month, who won't help with the mortgage, but he drives a Ferrari. And when he shows up in the Ferrari, he like drives it through the garage door and into the kitchen and destroys the house. And the kids and the mom are sitting around like, "What's your problem, Dad?" Like,
totally
you're fucking things up. And he's like, "Yeah, we're like, can you help out with the mortgage?" Nah, I gotta. Not only do I have this Ferrari, I have another one, and that's what we got to have, man. I'm sorry, kids. And we're like, man, wouldn't it be nice to have like food and not have a deadbeat dad drive his Ferrari through the front of the house and have like clothes and like school supplies? But no, we can't have all those things, not because we don't have the money, but because the person responsible is spending it on bullshit that in no way. That's like, well, I have this Ferrari because if anybody thinks I'm not cool, they'll try to take us over. Be like,
and it's all the propaganda of constantly telling us what we can't afford while they spend billions and trillions on war. It's like, we've spent over 20 billion already on the war in Iran, but you bring up healthcare, like, how are you going to pay for it? And the media, our trash bag media, helps. They act as the gatekeepers. They'll be the ones that'll be like, how are you going to pay for it? 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 But then when we start a war, nary a peep from our media. All of a sudden,
we keep off a war and we're firing Tomahawk land cruise missiles at 14 million a pop, and we're firing them off like they're fireworks on the 4th of July at the tune of $1 billion a day. Not one peep of where are we getting that money. But as soon as you talk about, shouldn't we pay our teachers more? How about universal health care? How about universal child care and all those things that we talk about, here, for, that are important to society, like time for mothers and fathers to spend with their children after their children are born, paid leave, or all these things that are important to society instead of these wars. Well, no, because then we hardworking Americans are going to have to pay for all these poor people to have it. Okay, well, what do you think you're paying for now?
Yeah, the propaganda is so intense. Like that's gotta be our project. Like we have to fight in every capacity to like actually change these conversations. And I think everybody has a role, right? Like I am like everybody has a role, like whether you're in the media or the podcast space or the activist space, or in your case, you're a veteran who's now running for Congress. We have to change it because I am not interested in being told that I should hate China. Why? Why should I hate China? Why should I hate Palestine? I love the Palestinians. I love them. I've become friends with them through Instagram and shit. And
I'll
talk
tell you
to
what,
them.
if I grew up in Gaza,
oh, I'd hate us.
I would be part of Hamas.
I would fucking hate us. I would hate, when they're like,
no, everybody, like the United States perspective of Hamas. They're like, okay, well, just imagine here in your neighborhood, if a foreign government occupied your neighborhood in violating every international law and killed your family and killed your dog and constantly were harassing you, and you had a militia that rose up out of your neighborhood to help fight the oppressor, I would join it.
Yeah, Americans understand that when it's white people, when we're like, they're white, but then when they're brown or they're in the Middle East, we're like, ugh, these terrorists.
I mean, I love me a good, Braveheart revolutionary story, going back to, you see the picture of Washington crossing the Delaware, and, people make memes to where like, don't fuck with America because we'll attack you in the middle of the night on Christmas. And everybody's like, yeah, America. And it's like, if you actually go back in history, you'll see that during that time period, the colonial army had a treaty with the Hessian troops not to attack them, and yet we fucking did it anyway on Christmas night, the most holy of their religion, as well as our budding religion at the time in Christianity. And we did it, we celebrated it. And then imagine if modern day, if any other country did that to us. Imagine if Hamas attacked a U.S. base on Christmas Eve out of nowhere while there was a truce in place. We would call them terrorists. But no, when a white European settler does it, it's patriotism.
Mm-hmm. And we never say that anybody else has a right to defend themselves. Palestinians do not have a right to defend themselves. They don't have a right to exist. They don't have all the bullshit that they say about, Israel's right to defend itself. They have a right to exist. What about the Palestinians? How come the Palestinians don't have a right to defend themselves? And I'm never going to get over the fact that the Palestinians are talked about as though there's what's left out of the conversation is that they're occupied. It's never talked about that they don't have a military, that they don't have their own state, that they don't control their own borders, that they don't control their own water, that there's a blockade on Gaza. None of that's ever talked about. They talk about it like these are equal armies, equal places that are fighting, and actually not even equal. They talk about it like the Israelis are victims. Like, oh my gosh, can you just believe it? All the Israelis with all their walls and everything else and all their technology. Like, that's why I'm like, I need you guys in Israel to pick a struggle. 1 minute they're trying to be victims. They're like, oh my gosh.
I'll tell you now, when they say, for years following October 7th, not one Zionist or zealot for war that I've ever talked to would say, yeah, what we're doing is wrong. No, they don't say that. They say, hey, October 7th, fuck around and find out. Get what you should have started a war. Well, all these people in Tel Aviv that are crying right now as hypersonics rain down on them. Well, fuck around and find out. Sorry. Don't feel sorry for you one bit.
Right. And it's also like they can't pick a struggle because 1 minute they're bragging about their technology. Oh, we are so technologically advanced. Our military is so advanced. Blah, 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 blah. The next minute they're like, oh my gosh, we're just such victims, you guys.
We need more missiles.
Right. Like we need, like, come on. Like
victims.
I'm like, I need you guys to pick a struggle, because also the best thing that some of them could do actually is just shut the fuck up. Because when people are like, oh, the Palestinians should love Israel, and the fact that they don't is why they indoctrinate their kids. I'm like, bro, I hate you. And I only found out about this a couple of years ago, and I can't fucking stand you. I can't imagine how I would feel if I were a Palestinian. You can't be like terrorizing people over and over and over again, day after day, killing their families, starving them, beating them, raping them, and then go, they don't like us.
And the thing is that, if it was, if the Israeli government continued to keep quiet the quiet part, but they say the quiet part out loud. They say it that yeah, our goal is to kill every Palestinian. Every
Literally.
Palestinian is Hamas.
And they call him
to wipe them off
Amalek.
the face of the earth. Amalek, animals, mowing the lawn.
That is the thing
this comes from the top levels of their government.
That's the reason why whenever people go, oh, well, it's anti-Semitic to criticize them, this and that. I want to be like, listen, Israel, if I'm your PR person, the best thing you could probably actually do is get your psycho soldiers off of social media, have them stop bragging in dead women's lingerie if you don't want us to not like you and think poorly of you. No, this isn't about us just assuming things about you. You weirdos keep posting it on TikTok and on Instagram, your war crimes. Maybe stop doing that. And then also maybe have your government officials stop talking in genocidal language and bragging about being murderers. And then maybe we wouldn't feel some kind of way about it.
Yeah, it's this, and again, I think that we should never seek war or violence or the destruction of another versus another. But when you look at the rhetoric right now over the past years, the rhetoric that has come out of the side of Israel, the government, not from Jews,
right?
From
the government
Israel,
yes,
from the government of Israel, the rhetoric and the narrative against Palestinians and the people of Gaza and the West Bank, and what they've said. Oh, yeah, October 7th, man. Started it, can't finish it. Okay, well, where are these American politicians now that are saying that Israel's the victim? Because last time I checked, this war with Iran, Israel started it. We started it. So now that
not only that, but
it's crying about missiles raining down on Tel Aviv, it's like, where are all those politicians that took this firm stand of, hey, fuck around and find out. You started it. Okay, where are you on this?
Right. No, where they are is they want to send American troops now to go fight it. Not Israeli troops, but American troops. But that's the other thing, too, is that it's like Israeli society, and they get really butthurt when you say this, but it's true. And we can say these things about our own society. Like we could say about American society, we are totally embarrassing and unprepared for anything that's happening. We're selfish in a lot of ways. We're chauvinistic. We don't care about, we were talking about earlier about voting. We're very selfish. We're a very self-centered country. And I can say that while still loving my country. But you're not allowed to criticize Israel, even though not so low key. All you have to do is watch them talk, and their society is genocidal. Like they talk about Palestinians like they are animals. And it is very scary, very scary. And I'm like, no. The problem is, it's not just Netanyahu. The problem is you guys, and I say this lovingly, I don't want people to get hurt. I don't want anybody to die. I don't want any of these wars for anybody. But there needs to be some denazification here, because you guys are kind of psycho. And the Palestinians have every right to be afraid. And maybe the reason why people in Iran are chanting death to America for the last 40 years, death to Israel, is because we're psycho.
Well, yeah. I mean, you look at it in terms of the constant rhetoric coming out of even look at it now. We can't even say that it's just Israel. Look at Pete Hegseth.
No, it's Israel and it's us. My point was to say, when it comes to us, you can say it. When it comes to Israel, they have a fucking meltdown if you actually point that out.
And to dissent and to speak out against the wrongs is not only not patriotic, it is patriotic. The foundation of our nation was speaking out against injustices of our government. Our Constitution says that we should defend it against enemies foreign and domestic. The founders didn't add "and domestic" in there just because it rhymed. They added it in there because a likely opponent of our freedom and democracy would come from within. And people think that, well, out of the history of our nation, that's never. First of all, we're only 250 years old. There are people in France that have shoes that are older than us.
Yeah, for real.
So yeah, let's not think that we have set the history of society and mankind. So is it possible that the threat from within would come from domestic before foreign? Absolutely. And it is.
It's more likely.
To criticize that and to stand up against that and to call it out is patriotism.
It is more likely that our country will collapse because of our politics and our corruption and our government than it is from any outside force.
Well, no empire in history has ever collapsed because of its inability to have a military or dominate. It's come from the collapse from within of their own society.
Yeah. And it's happening now. It's happening slowly, but it's
for us, it's only at the 200. I mean, the Roman Empire, thousands of years. The Qin Dynasty, thousands of years. The Ottoman Empire, hundreds of years. We're babies in this game, and we're thinking that we're invincible to any type of downfall and change. I'm like, we're not. And to most Americans, what I plead to most Americans is that let's demand change and make it happen now. Well, we aren't doing it from the ashes.
Right.
Because do I think that eventually when enough Americans wake up, will we fight the struggle to win our nation back in terms of freedom and the government we want? Sure. But it's going to be from the ashes, and it's going to be bloody, and it's going to be violent, and it's going to be horrible, and it's going to be costly. We can do it now while we still exercise civil rights and relative control to where it doesn't have to be that way.
My fear is that if we don't do something now, it's possible that we wouldn't even be able to fight a bloody war from the ashes, because we are living in an unprecedented time of technology that they are right now trying to create structures to control us with things like Palantir and AI surveillance. And so
those things are always defeatable. It just becomes much, 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 much harder.
Right. So yeah, I agree. I think that we have to fight. There's a lot of things that we have to do, and we have to fight. I want to fight just as much to get us separated from Israel. I don't want to be Israel's ally anymore. Give me China, give me Russia, give me Palestine. I don't want to fuck with them anymore. Okay. I want them to handle their own bullshit and see how much hubris you have when you guys have to stand on your own 2 feet and you don't have Daddy America. And then I want us to focus on our terror state and our corrupt government and actually take it back for the people that actually live here. So with that being said, I think that's a good place to wrap it up and say, I'm so excited that you are running for office. Please, everybody in chat, make sure that you go and you support Anthony. Tony, what do you prefer to go by?
I go by Tony, but if you go to my website, it's www.anthonyaguilarforuScongress.com.
Okay. And
AguilarforuScongress.com.
Yeah, I put it also, guys, in chat.
Well, thank you.
So please make sure to sign up and donate if you are able to, and volunteer if you're able to, and spread the word, because I think that this could really be a very, very, very important race that could be for things to come. Nothing is going to happen for us. We actually have to do something about it and push it. And this is a great opportunity not only to elect somebody who's actually going to be fighting for America and not some skin suit of the Israeli lobby, but also for us to show that somebody can win outside of the two-party system. And I think that that's hope that people really need to have. So please make sure that you are going to his website. Tony, thank you so much for being so generous with your time. I could have talked to you forever.
This was great. This is awesome. And we'll do it again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And good luck on your campaign. And we will talk soon.
We'll talk soon. Thank you. All right. You take care.
Bye. Fam, thank you guys so much for joining. I know I went a really long time, but I just had so much I wanted to talk to him about. And I find him incredibly inspiring. I think that, he gives me real vibes. I don't think he's fake. He just really does seem like, I guess I really kind of related to him because I really felt like he was like me in his evolution of understanding what the Israeli regime is and what we're doing. But his is like from a military perspective. I'm going to read the super chats really quick. Thank you so much, Boney. As usual, my wonderful, amazing mod, Boney, jumping in, helping with the links. I see you, Boney. I saw you putting his congressional thing in there in chat. So thank you so much. I love you. I'm going to read your super chats really quick. Remember when Trump said Kamala wants to bring back the draft and the draft your child and then put them in a war that should have I know. He's like, it would have never happened if I would have been in office. It's like, bro, you're actually starting a war. Actually, thank you. Thank you so much, Linda, for the super chat. It's really late here in Sweden. I need to get some sleep, but send super chat, some support, people and guests that stand on the truth. Oh, thank you so much, Linda. And thank you again. I read the one about the Raytheon stock. And thank you again so much, Boney, for the super chat. Not only has Anthony received a bronze star and a Purple Heart, he received the Sam Adams Award, which is given to the intelligence professional who has taken a stand of integrity and ethics, and they will still try to smear him. Yeah, that's amazing. Like, his record is very impressive. It's very impressive. And yet, oh, thank you, Boney. And thank you so much for the super chats. And thank you for throwing the links in there and stuff. And yet they will still try to smear him. I mean, it's incredible. He does have a very, very impressive record. And they tried to find a bunch of shit to smear him with, and it really fell flat. Like, they didn't have anything. It's amazing. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this up because it's been almost 3 hours and I really got to pee. But thank you guys so much for joining. And I think that we really need to pay attention to his race. I'm going to try to get the guy running for Senate, Brian McGinnis, also to come on. And I think that we need to talk about this a lot more and try to get a lot more people to volunteer for him, because I think that it could be really huge if somebody like him could win on the Green Party ticket in a place like North Carolina. So I'm going to wrap it up again. Thank you guys so much. I love you all so much. Free Palestine, abolish ICE, go to his website, share it on social media. And I will see you guys for the next live stream on Thursday. Shout out again to Boney and to everybody else in the stream. I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.